Well, hello. It has been a while since I've been live, so yeah. How you doing? I figured, you know what? I'm bored as hell. Might as well go live. Maybe I'll just post a link and see if someone else wants to come in. Obviously, I can choose whoever the fuck it is. But hello. So let's see. Let's post it here. There we go. It's posted. Hmm. Uh, so, uh, what do I want to talk about? Well, of course, I'm asking you. I guess what I want to talk about is the way atheists are seen by others in today's society. Oh, you're an atheist, therefore you must be a nihilist. Therefore, you believe that nothing matters. Therefore, you have no basis for your morality. Therefore, Rick Sanchez or whatever. Like, it's just. Also, there's a video on my channel that I uploaded like 2 months ago regarding a conversation I had with Bond on Gangsta Ghost's channel. Let me actually get that. My channel, videos. All right. Uh, let's see. I mean, screen share. Maybe I should wait until someone actually shows up in chat. I don't know. Maybe I will. But yeah, this video is the conversation I had on Gangsta Ghost's channel 2 months ago about what does giving your life to Jesus look like and what does it mean to do so. Like I look, I'm glad that turning yourself over to Jesus has helped you improve your life and make it a lot better. But I don't think it's for everyone, honestly. Like I know many of the like want us to believe so we can be saved, we can all go to heaven and be happy and all that. And none of them want us to go to hell. And okay, yep, okay, I get the sentiment, okay, but it's just something I and many others don't believe. Like as I told Ryan yesterday on Dave's Using, and it's like I can't believe what I don't believe. If you know what I mean. Like I phrase it, I can't pretend to believe something, right? I have to be honest with what I believe. I have to be honest with myself. A lot of people, I don't feel like are honest with themselves. You know what I mean? They think they are, but they're really not. Like it's really. Uh, I'm amazed at the human brain's ability to rationalize anything. Like it's just I don't know, man. I don't know. I always put the caveat that maybe God exists maybe God exists, and I'm just not seeing it. Right? Everything I've seen so far, all the arguments for God just don't really hold water for me. I don't know. Well, you could say, well, where did we come from? Where did society, where did the universe come from? Where did we come from? Where does morality come from, and all that? And I tried to explain it yesterday, but of course, knowing me, I do a horrible job at explaining stuff, especially in voice. Is no one gonna show up? I mean, granted, it has been a while since I've streamed, so of course, nobody's gonna show up because it's like, dude, consistency is key. So I guess I should share the link around. Let me go to YouTube. Hang on. Okay. Where are you, Google? Google Gmail. Gmail is fun. Ooh, interesting. Oh wow. Yeah, interesting. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. If anyone's in chat, hold on a sec. I mean, of course, I would hear the noise. Oh, okay. Sorry. Dude, no, I don't want to inspect. I'm not expecting the elements. Okay. All right. I posted the link. Like, I guess I should post the link. Do. Off topic, maybe artworks. I guess announcements works. Yeah. Yeah. Actually. Okay. Oh wow. Literally nobody is watching. Oh, two are watching. Never mind. Two. Nobody's commenting in the chat. But hello, two viewers. Even though technically I am one of them, because I did post a link somewhere that I have to copy it. But yeah, I guess we'll go on playing this video. Where are you? All right, there's a full screen. Yes, it is. What does giving your life to what does giving your life to Christ mean, and what does that look like? Like
You asking me or the
genuinely,
guy in the
because
chat?
what?
Wait, who you asking?
I guess anybody, because as an atheist, I'm like, I don't understand what giving your life to Christ means and what it looks like.
So, Christian, if you want to answer that, and then if I have a different idea, I'll say it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's the first step of that process is a person just kind of looking in the mirror and realizing that they're their own biggest problem and they're not able to help themselves. So they realize that they need somebody, and then they obey that somebody, and then their life gets better.
That's. What about you, Bond?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. That you have to realize that you're flawed in some sort of way, and you need a lifeboat, and you have to look to you have to look to Jesus for that lifeboat.
I mean, I don't disagree with the fact that that you're flawed and you need to look to other people for help, but I look to other people that actually are here, like you, Bond, Pixie, Wild Heart to an extent, the other people. So I guess the only thing I disagree with is the Jesus part.
Well,
wait, why was it only Wild Heart?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I truly get being in the most darkest place you could find yourself in and reaching out for somebody, anybody, to save you, to hold you and say that everything will be all right. Okay, I get that Jesus does that for a lot of people, but for many others, they just have to do it themselves. In the sense that they still reach out from help from others that they know them, but at the same time they have to do it themselves as well as getting help. I don't agree with what he said. Oh, you were flawed and you can't do it yourself. You need someone to help you. Well, why not do it yourself and have somebody help you? Like it's finding a balance between the two. Because if you depend on one person to help you, without you doing anything, once that person leaves, are you gonna crumble? Like, you know what I mean? Like the stutter is making me fucking I hate not being able to articulate myself better. Hey, Freeman. Sorry, hey, Will Freeman. Link is available if you want to join. I, I, I could use not a sound piece, a springboard, I guess, to springboard, to string shit on. But yeah, I guess let's just finish this.
Or to an extent. I need to hear more about that.
That's where I was going.
Me and you think just alike.
Midnight, do you think Jesus could help you in your life in any way?
I don't see how, honestly. I don't see how he could help me in any way other than, more than other people have helped me already.
Okay, so you don't see how Jesus could help you versus other people in your life, right?
Yeah, like, it's like, I mean, I guess you can make an argument that Jesus actually sent those people, as a proxy for, for himself,
Do you think that that Jesus would offer you some sort of hope in the future versus other people?
This is an interesting question. Okay, if I'm getting hope from other people, what hope would I get from Jesus? Like, it just honestly, honestly, if the whole point is to believe in Jesus and have him help you, what is the difference between Jesus helping you and someone, someone in your family or someone in your community helping you? Like, is it, it's because Jesus, Jesus' help will never leave you? Is that what it is? He will always be there all the time to never leave you. If you mess up, he will be there. He will be always there to comfort you. Whereas other people will leave you. But with Jesus, he will never leave you. I think I hit the nail. I think I figured out why a lot of people believe in Jesus, right? Because he can't leave you. All right, so no matter how much, obviously he is to improve, of course, but with with a lot of people in our lives, like they will be around us as best as they can, but there comes a certain point to where your flaws push them away, but by believing in Jesus, by putting your faith into him, you have somebody that will never leave. So essentially, you have somebody that's always there for you. And I get that sentiment. It is. How do I put this? It is understandable. It is one of the most powerful things you could do for yourself, to have somebody always there for you, no matter what. But when it comes to me, it's like I have myself, which I'm still learning. I'm still learning to love myself. Yeah, I make mistakes. Who doesn't? I make mistakes. There are times where I look at myself and I say, "You fucking asshole! You disgusting piece of shit! What the fuck did you do in the past?" I get self hatred. I get believing yourself to be so damaged that you cannot repair yourself on your own. Like, I get it. Well, you should, considering you're on screen. But yeah, like, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about this shit because I was watching Dave's stream before, and Ryan is like, "Hey, Smokey, I took Sparkle to task. You should have seen that." I'm like, okay, sure. Never mind, he's straw man some parts, but whatever. Uh, but yeah, like, I get it. Okay, it's just uh, honestly, if I had the power, I would heal the entire world. There will still be suffering, obviously, but people would be better able to. People would be. Well, let me try again. People would be better equipped to handle that suffering. If that makes sense. But I don't know. I'm just. I guess I'm like screaming. Hold on. I posted the bond. I posted the link. Hold on a sec. I'll just send it to you on Discord. No, not Discord. I posted in Google Chat, even though the link is literally like a few messages above, but that's fine. Check Google Chat. I should be seeing you any second now. Eh, 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 eh. Okay, I'll stop. Did you get the link from? Let's see. Bond, I give it to you in the Google. Or I guess I'll just post it again here. My way it works. Okay, let me see. Okay, well, the link is showing up. So, anyway, like with like when it comes to me, like I said, I've had a lot of issues to deal with these past 8 years. Uh, it's been one hell of a ride. I can tell you that. Going from feeling so helpless that I couldn't even. Okay, he's back. He's in. Hey, you are both on stream and in video. How do you feel about that?
I'm not sure yet. How are you, Midnight?
To quote Richard, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm good. I just figured, you know what, fuck it, let me go live and let me talk about this because I'm bored and might as well talk about it.
What exactly are you talking about? Because I see my image on your screen, on your share screen. So I'm wondering what exactly you wanted to talk about.
Well, yesterday I had this interaction with Frode from Norway and Ryan the Presbyterian. I don't know if you remember those two lovely gentlemen.
Yeah, I know those two liars, motherfuckers. Yeah.
Well, they took me to task by asking me questions about Jesus and all that. And
yeah.
Were you watching?
I heard it. I thought you did decent.
Well, thank you. I thought I did poorly.
I thought you did pretty decent. I thought you messed up a few places, but overall it was decent. But
yeah,
you could have took it. You let them control the conversation. You let them control where it went to when you could have cut them off before.
That's a fair criticism.
They were begging the question on a lot of things, and they were assuming God, and I think you were a little too
passive
nice to them.
Well, I guess saying I was a bit too nice is better than calling me passive.
Yeah, you were just you. I think overall you just let them control the conversation, and you let them steamroll you when I think you had points to you started off with really good points with them, right? Really good rebuttals. But then I think he just kind of backed off and let them just kind of steamroll it.
Yeah, again, that's a fair criticism. Still something I'm working on. There are days where I'm like, "Grr, big burly man," and there are days, and I'm like, okay, let me back off a little.
Yeah. Especially when Ryan joined in. I think he kind of took a few steps back and let them kind of control the conversation.
Sorry, I was still.
But I think he started off really good, honestly. I just think I think he cowered to them a little bit.
Baby steps. Steve.
I mean, a lot of the questions that Ryan brought in, they were just begging the question. They were just assuming that there is a creator, there is God. They kind of took you out of the whole equation of you. It seemed like you were starting out in an internal critique, and you could have taken it in a better direction.
I don't even know how the whole thing fucking started. I just go there to talk. All of a sudden, I find myself under the microscope being questioned. Like, what? When the
Yeah,
fuck?
I get that. Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. You were just there to just hang out with Dave, the pedo defender, and Smokey Saint and all them. I get that. But you know, I think it kind of jumped you a little bit on that, on the God talk. So let me ask you, Midnight. What do you like about Smokey Saint?
You're gonna put me on the spot too now, Midnight. Midnight. Coach you myself.
Or Iron Man, Midnight, Iron Man, Sparkle, whoever you are. Why do you find why do you find it comforting to spend time interacting with Smokey Saint?
Well, I mean, I guess it's the way he talks about stuff. His passion about the topics that he talks about. Like, yeah, I do think he's wrong a lot of the time or whatever, but he talks about it with such passion that you're like, obviously I'm never going to convert because of him. You know?
Say that one more time. I missed it.
Okay, I'm trying it.
No, you're fine. I just missed it.
I admire his passion when he talks about the subjects he knows about.
Okay, so you admire his knowledge or studies that he's put in on certain topics, right?
Yes.
And those, you admire his certain topics on Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, I may not believe in Christianity, but I can admire how much knowledge somebody knows about it.
What do you think? Okay, so let me ask you, Midnight. Could you? Okay, if I asked you, Midnight, what do you agree with more, with Smokey Saint versus Praise I Am on Christianity? How would you respond to that?
I mean, I think I'm using the right word, but from an internal critique, free grace is the most dangerous doctrine you can have, because it basically says that you can do whatever the fuck you want and still be saved. Like, if Christianity is true, and if God exists and all that, I do agree with him that free grace is dangerous. Would you agree with that too? That once saved, always saved isn't exactly the most like stable and And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. But does Praise AM or Dude, whoever, Olive, whoever agree with that? Do they think that if you
Yes,
actually
they are
become
free gracers,
saved?
as
No,
far as I know.
okay, so I get that. I get that. They're free gracers, right? But even Smokey Saint agrees that there's multiple flavors of free gracers. Would you agree?
I would agree, just as so long as I'm not versed on the topic. I'll just
Yeah. I mean, Smokey Saint has even said like it's not even worth debating free grace
yeah.
because there's different flavors of it, and so different flavors of free gracers will comment on there.
Excuse me.
So you have people like Kevin's biblical discussions that thinks that if you come to salvation, you'll never leave. You also have free gracers like Bill Good News Gospel that will say you can live like the devil after you're saved and still be saved.
Yeah.
And then you have free gracers like Praise I Am that play the fence. And they're like, well, maybe this, maybe that. Right. So it seems like it. I mean, I don't agree with free racers. Once saved, always saved. I once believed. I don't believe anymore. I hold more to what a Smokey Saint would believe, that you believed in the past, you don't anymore. You left the faith. You're not saved anymore, right? As much as I don't like Smokey Saint, as much as I think he's a predator.
Piece of shit. Yep. Well,
Do you
well, there's that
well
too.
hold on. Midnight, do you think Smokey Saint's a predator?
Honestly, I don't know.
Out of all the evidence you've seen, do you think that Smokey Saint, Joshua Herbel, is a predator? He's an opportunist. He will take advantage of people that are in less they're in lower positions than he is. Do you think that?
I've personally never seen him take advantage of position in a lower position than he is.
What do you think about his case?
What do I think about his case?
I know you've heard a lot because I know I've seen you in streams where it's been talked about. So what do you think about his case?
I think there hasn't really been shown, as far as I haven't seen them. I don't know if they exist or not, but to me, it would be nice to see actual receipts of hotel and flights.
Okay, so you're kind of holding to there's no receipts of any kind of flight records or hotel records, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there has to be some receipts. If he actually drove from California to North
Do you
Carolina
think he drove
with
there?
a plane.
Do you
Well,
think
I don't
he
know.
drove there?
I don't know. He could have drone. He could have taken a plane. Like, if he drove there, I mean, there would be they would there could be credit card receipts if he was trashed and no way to prove it.
Do you buy the idea that there was no webcams at that time?
Yes, concerning that it even says that Gaia did not have those features.
No. I'm not talking about Gaia. I'm talking about webcams. The capability of sending video messages, whether it's 240p or whatever, over online communications.
Well, I mean, obviously those things exist, but the whole
no,
thing
okay,
was
so-
about hold on, but the whole thing was about Gaia having those features.
No. You just said those things existed, right?
Yes, those things existed, but I'm saying
Now-
that
now-
Gaia, where they
Regardless of Gaia, there were multiple communications that were listed. So if you're saying that technology was available back then, and then Smokey Saint is saying that it wasn't available back then, and a simple Google search will prove Smokey Saint wrong and William Kincaid, why do you still hold to what you're saying, that it's not possible back then?
Fucking God. That's not what I'm saying, Bond. I'm saying the technology existed back then, but Gaia, the site where they met
What?
and exchanged messages, did not have those features. If Smokey actually said that the technology existed back then,
Was Gaia the only? Why are you so worked up over defending Smokey Saint?
I'm not, dude. Fuck you.
You-
Don't
you
accuse
said-
me of defending him. I'm trying to talk to you, but you know I stutter and struggle with it.
I'm not talking about your stuttering. Calm down. I don't understand why you're getting so worked up with Smokey Saint. But if you admit that these capabilities existed back then, you admit that they're lying about when webcams and video communication existed back then. I don't understand what you're defending with Smokey Saint and Gaia.
I'm not defending anyone. Like, dude, I don't even. This is why I do not talk about this. Okay?
But you do.
No, I don't. I don't talk about this. The entire point of this stream was to, talk about atheism.
Okay, well let's get away from this topic. Let's talk about atheism. If you don't want to talk about what you defend on Dave, the Using It channel, and Smokey Saints whenever you're hanging out there for 8 hours a day.
Well, at least
You
I know what
asked me,
atheist is.
you asked me, Iron Man, do I have a problem with you?
Yeah, I know. I
Recently.
figured that out. Yes.
Yeah, you
Hello,
Iron
Hillary.
Man, Iron Man, you
Hello.
asked me if I had a problem with you. I do have a problem with you.
Yeah,
and
no
I'm here
shit.
to address it. Okay. So you can say whatever you want to say, and I will address it respectfully.
Bond, have you had anything to drink today?
I've had a lot of liquid to drink today. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
I kind of
There you
noticed
go.
that in your voice. Okay, please continue. Midnight, are you
Hillary's,
going to
have
Bond?
you had anything to drink today?
I had one beer about 12 hours ago. No, not 12. Maybe 8 hours ago.
You haven't
So,
had
Hillary,
any
what did you
water or
say?
anything else?
I've had coffee and water, and that's it.
So whenever you said you've had something to drink, you didn't include those things?
I ask a question, and you're feel free to answer however.
No.
wish.
You asked me if I've had it. You asked me if I had anything to drink today.
You're right. You
I
said
asked
a
you the
whole
same
lot.
question.
I think you're trying to make a point, but I've already answered. Am I unclear about my answer?
What my point is that you're being dishonest.
What was I
Because I
dishonest
answered
about?
you. I answered you honestly. I said yes, I have had something to drink.
Yes. So,
And then
so what part of,
you, whenever I pose that question to you back, you were very specific.
I
you were
was.
avoidant.
no, it's not. How is being totally specific avoidant? I said what I had and how long ago, and then you asked something else. And I said, yeah, coffee
I
and
asked you
water.
if you had other things. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it dishonest when I accurately answer your question?
You didn't accurately answer it, but we can move on.
No, let's not move on. If you're gonna
Okay, let's stay here. Let's stay here. What have we had to drink today? Let's talk about it.
Say it again.
Well, let's stay here. What have we had to drink today? I have had whiskey. I've had a margarita. I've had water, and I have had Powerade Zero.
So I guess.
What have you had, Hillary's? What have you had?
Well, I can repeat my answer, but if you don't remember me just saying it, then there's no point. So when you're saying I'm dishonest, it's just that you don't understand what honesty is.
Okay, well, you can say that, but if you don't want to say what you had, that's fine.
No, I already said. All you have to do is go back. I can repeat it, but hopefully you'll write
repeat
it.
it. Repeat it. I'm retarded, Hillary's. I'm a little
I
slow.
believe you.
Hillary's. I'm a little slow.
I
Go ahead
believe
and
you.
repeat what you said.
I said that I had one beer several hours ago,
Yeah.
and that I've had a lot of coffee to drink and a lot of water. Those are
Okay,
the only
great.
three things.
So
that
here
I've
we
had.
are. So here we are.
Here we
Now
are.
what? Now what? Now what, Hillary's? Now what? Where do you go from this?
What does that even
Exactly.
mean?
Exactly. I ask you, where do you go from this? And you say, So Iron Man, Midnight. If you have a topic we can discuss, because Hillary's doesn't know where to go from this, we can go there.
Oh, there's lots of places I could go, but this isn't my stream. But
Okay,
you
well,
were
let's go there.
asking me-
Let's go there, Hillary's. Let's go
Well,
there. Well,
I had like a 6+ hour stream earlier. If you wanted to go places, you
did
should
you have?
go.
Well, I mean, I was working earlier. It was. It's a Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it is.
Mhm.
Adults have things to work on. They have things to do. They can't just watch streams in the middle of the day. Unfortunately, I'm not old enough to retire yet, so I still have to work.
Good. You need to go ahead and you keep slaving away to pay those taxes so we can redistribute your wealth to other people.
I do what I do. I work the system like the
You work
best
the
of them.
system. Okay.
I do. I'm not gonna lie. I work the system.
Good for you.
If there's a loophole, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna take advantage of it.
You're going to take advantage of every hole you can find.
Exactly, I will. Every hole. Preferably 3 holes. Preferably 3 holes. I will take advantage of.
Would you mind if I finish this? Just like 36 seconds.
I do mind, but go ahead.
It's your stream. Take control.
They just fuck you. I don't think so, considering I'm trying to make my own hope.
Okay,
No,
so
I'm-
yeah, you're trying to make your own hope. You're trying to make your own hope, right? You're trying to pull yourself up and make things happen. But do you think that Jesus, the biblical Jesus, could help you in more ways than other people could?
Right now, no. And there we go. We are done with that. That's where that clip ends. I had to use StreamYard, OBS to record that because I'm terrible at making clips on YouTube. All right, Strawberry. Although I guess Strawberry would only apply. Would that apply to any stream? To your on Hillary's, or should we use that word anyway? I don't know. I'm rambling.
I just use that as my own personal safe word, so it's easy to remember. If someone says something else, I might not, know what it means. Like pineapple, and I just keep plowing away, and I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot. I thought it was supposed to be strawberry. I'm sorry.
Come on, Hillary's. Come on. You're just shooting, right? Oh, that's funny.
Oh, scientist Sam, that is very subjective as to what is or isn't a welfare cheat. I mean, if that's written into the system that that's the law, is it cheating to take advantage? I'm sure that you don't pay extra in taxes, do you?
Mm.
Doubting Thomas says he loves parasites as long as they don't go too far.
Good thing I'm not on welfare. Kidding. Of course I am.
I
Why
think
is-
all Americans are pretty
Iron
much
Man.
on welfare.
Midnight. Why is Iron Man still able to comment here? Or
What?
why is Scientist Sam still able to comment here?
You are
Because I
so
let him.
drunk. You're so drunk you're asking the host why he allows himself on his own stream?
No. I corrected myself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Did you not
good.
pay attention?
I did. but I still wanted to poke fun.
Hillary's. Do you ever misspeak at all?
I still wanted to poke fun though, so thank you for
Because
allowing me that.
Hillary's, I have 2 clips of you that I
Wait a minute.
can
But you have
release
them.
where you're
Ooh.
contradicting yourself on
Hey,
stream.
Hillary, do you want to see them?
So
I
are you
don't care.
drunk or are you just contradicting yourself because you just say things that you don't realize?
I have been hit in the head a number of times, and so sometimes I say words that don't mean what I mean to say. So it's entirely possible that they could be brain damage caused
Honestly, still have.
So why is it that I'm drunk right now?
because of all the whiskey you drank, maybe?
Whiskey?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do we need to go back 5 minutes?
maybe if you go back a day or two, that would be correct. But
Well, I'm going off what you said about 5 minutes ago. You mentioned whiskey.
yeah. I'll go ahead and release the comment that you contradicted yourself about talking about black what did you say? Driving while black and walking while black. You contradicted yourself there.
What was the contradiction?
I'll show you in the video.
Okay, you go ahead and show me.
I will. I'll show you. I have the clips. But it's weird that you stepped in to defend Scientist Sam, that's someone that you last interacted with in a negative way.
Wait, who defended Sam?
Hillary's did, because I was asking Iron Man why Scientist Sam was still able to comment here. And I misspoke and I said you instead of him. And then Hillary's wanted to take that opportunity to jump on it because, pathetic people.
Well, okay.
Take
First of all, what is your
every
issue with
opportunity.
Sam?
No, pathetic people take every opportunity to jump on things.
Okay, fair. But what is your issue with Scientist Sam?
I don't have any issue with Scientist Sam, but I know you have issues with him.
Yeah, and I don't care if he's here. Like, I'm not gonna block him.
Bond feels so threatened by Scientist Sam.
I'm not threatened by Scientist Sam.
I'm
not threatened by Scientist Sam, but I do remember the last interaction that you had with Scientist Sam, and he actually stomped you because you were saying that you would defend. You said that everyone should defend themselves in court, and him and Dragnot joined, and made you look like an idiot. And you just kept on holding to, well, Scientist Sam, you called me a retard, and technically, I'm not a retard. And you held on to that. I remember that last interaction.
I said technically I'm not a retard.
Yeah, you did. And Scientist Sam was trying to move the conversation forward, and then Dragnot was there, and then you just looked terrible in that interaction.
Well, that really makes me wonder if that's just the alcohol talking, or if your IQ is really so low that you can't understand a good argument.
Well, maybe my IQ's low.
I'm willing to.
Okay. I need some clarification from you, Hillary. So, I kind of agree with this. We kind of don't. But you ever heard of the person who defends himself as a fool for a client? You ever heard that?
True. That's true.
Hillary said.
Hold on, Bond. Let him talk. Go ahead, Hillary.
But what I said was that I would not give up my rights to defend myself and allow someone else to plead guilty on my behalf or to do other things. And that's just it. When you hire an attorney, you're basically giving them all of your rights. So if they want to plead you guilty, you're screwed. If they want to say that if they want to make quote admissions in court that you have committed
Here
certain
we go.
crimes,
Scientist
they
Sam
can
is
do
here.
it,
Shut
and
up,
then you're
Hillary's.
stuck.
Hillary's Scientist Sam is here.
Well, just go ahead
I'm
and do
like-
that job. That seems to be what you want to
Okay,
do.
can we talk about one at a time, please?
Sure. What's the topic?
It was
Bond-
atheist, but now we're into this. Sorry, go ahead, Hillary. Respond again.
I was just thinking that Bond seemed to want to give Scientist Sam a blowjob, so I was going to just offer him.
Oh, I
Scientist
said I
would
wanted to
be
give him a
interested.
blowjob. Okay.
Well,
There we go.
I'm not sexually attracted to you, Bond. So
Yeah, I'm
while
not.
I'm
I'm not sexually
flattered,
attracted to you either. I like women.
then we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, but I'm just going.
Sorry, I'm
off
going to
the
be
last
doing dishes
conversation
and
that I
stuff
heard.
like that. So,
I'm just going off the last conversation I heard with you and Hillary's. And
oh, was that
Hillary saying
when
that every
Hillary's
minute
was
she-
arguing that you should represent yourself pro se
Yes.
in court?
Yes, you remember
Yeah,
that.
it's just a
don't you?
terrible idea. But
Yes, yeah, you remember that. Yeah.
sure. I mean, like, we can just look at the stats, right? Like, the rates of bad outcomes for pro se representation are just much higher than when you hire an attorney.
Hold on, you're making it into a dichotomy. So if you represent yourself as first seat and you hire an attorney as your second seat, but you're not abdicating your rights to make decisions on your own behalf to someone else, you think that's bad?
Well, when you hire an attorney, you're not abdicating your rights.
You definitely are.
No, you're not.
Well, I've seen it happen plenty of times.
Okay, just because you've seen it happen doesn't mean like you are
Right.
allowed. That's why you're allowed to have. You can toss counsel when you feel they're not representing you accurately, right? That happens pretty often.
You mean when you petition a judge to get rid of your counsel?
Yeah, that happens. Like, it's not
Right.
it's not
So-
a very often outcome, but it happens.
Right, you just made my point. You can request the judge to get rid of your attorney, but you can't just do it on your own. In fact, the attorney can have you gagged, and you're not able to speak at your own trial because.
But
once
isn't
you
that
speak
based?
for-
That's typically based upon competency. No, that's not based upon like
Again, you're
some
agreeing with
weird
me.
controlling
Right,
maneuver.
right. You're making my point. So you are in agreement.
No, because like again, like that's usually based up when I say competency, it's the competency to stand trial, right? Which is the idea that you understand the charges that are being filed against you. Obviously, you can't toss out counsel if you don't have the ability to represent yourself. Anything I say not make sense there? I think this is like fairly basic knowledge.
And what is it about my silence that makes you think that you don't understand the point that you're making?
That you don't understand the point? I mean, I understood.
No, that wasn't my question. It was what you didn't understand. Clearly, I wasn't objecting to what you were saying. So the fact that you thought,
I mean,
that
I
what
just
you
don't
said was so
understand.
absurd-
Like, do we actually disagree, or is this one of those things where you just want to seem self-righteous? Because that's fine. Like,
this is
I'm not personally
the
interested
case.
in it.
This is the case of Bond playing the drunk girl at the bar, playing "Let's you and him fight," and you fell for it.
I mean, I don't really care either way. I'm just on here while I'm running errands. But if it's really like bothering you, I
didn't
still think
bring it
like
up.
pro se representation is like a pretty idiotic. Like, you should almost never represent yourself in court. There's just too many legal disadvantages and outcome disadvantages.
Again, you seem to be trying to conflate different issues.
I mean, I'm happy. Like, listen, man, like, I'm happy to ask this question to my cousin who used to be the assistant district attorney in Manhattan about what he thinks,
Okay.
and who's currently a
Yeah.
defense attorney. Like, I'm happy to talk to legal experts who are like
Okay.
his father
Yeah.
is a judge, right? Like, that's my dad's
go ahead
cousin's
and ask.
husband.
Okay, well then go ahead and ask.
I've asked
your
this
dad.
question before and they agree with me. So like, I'm not really like,
Well, I don't believe that they agree that you are accurately portraying my point. My point is that I am not going to cede my rights to somebody else for them to plead guilty on my behalf.
What do you mean by okay? So
Conditions-
let's break that down because I feel like you're outlining what is a fringe case, right? Like it's a fringe. We
Exactly.
agree, right?
We
Like you're
agree
not
with
allowed
you.
to enter. You are not allowed to enter a plea for your client if they are found mentally competent to stand trial. Like that's actually illegal, and you would be disbarred for doing something like that.
Oh well, all I know about is the cases where that has happened. Just like
Can you
it
give an example?
probably
Like can you link a court case where that's happened?
there ones previously. I don't remember all the cases. I didn't write down the who was charged with what. I've just seen them. It's just like the
Okay,
case
so
where
like this random thing that hopefully you remember correctly
right.
versus what, like a judge has told me about this topic.
Okay, but if I spoke with that judge and he agreed the cases like I'm saying do happen, even if they are neat, does that discount the cases?
I mean, do you agree? Okay, so like yes or no, you do agree that like that can be grounds for mistrial and potentially disbarment if you were to do something like that, letting down a client's confidence.
I
Like,
didn't
do
know
we?
about the disbarment, but I was aware of the mistrial because, and the other thing that I was going to say is just like I have seen judges in my capacity as a deputy, I saw judges enter a plea of guilty on the defendant's behalf. They did not allow him to have counsel. He had been in jail for 9 months on a charge that if they threw the book at him, the maximum punishment was 6 months in jail. And the judge told him that because he refused to plead guilty, he was going to enter a plea of guilty on his behalf, and that when he gets back out, because he's refusing to hire a lawyer and refusing to bail himself out of jail, and so if he disagrees with the guilty plea, that he can then go get a job and hire an attorney and try to have the conviction vacated after he got out.
So I'm gonna need on. I'm just gonna say like these sound like either extreme fringe cases or made up. So I'm gonna need like some sort of sourcing here. Because
Okay,
like your argument essentially is well, like, well, if you hire an attorney, they can do something that potentially is mistrial worthy, which like that's a bit like saying if you buy a product, it could get recalled, right? Like shit does happen.
or you
I'm
can
not
get
gonna.
poisoned.
I mean, yeah, again, like shit does happen, right? That doesn't it doesn't make sense, right? It's the same as saying don't hire an accountant because there have been accountants that have embezzled funds, right? Like
So it sounds like you're
that
agreeing.
logic doesn't really follow.
Okay, well now that you've taken Bond's thing and played Let's You and Him Fight, and you didn't even get a blowjob out of it because you said you weren't attracted to him. I don't know if you've actually seen him or
What
not.
what did I say that was incorrect in those
Well,
statements?
no, you were agreeing with me. That isn't it. I'm not saying you're incorrect. I'm saying that you seem to be agreeing with everything I'm saying. I'm not finding things that you're saying that I'm disagreeing with. So I'm not sure why you're playing the game. Let's You and Him Fight.
Well, I mean, the thing that I disagree with is I think it's stupid to sit as any chair in your own counsel.
And why is
Like I
that?
don't think because the outcomes are because unless you're a trained lawyer, generally speaking, the outcomes are worse.
Okay, so if you were sat first seat and you hired a defense attorney to be second seat, what would you do that would screw up your own defense?
I don't know because I'm not an attorney.
So you're
Like
making an
that's the thing
argument.
is I don't. So the thing is like it's the same as why don't you do your own dental work? Like I don't
No,
do
it's
my own
not.
dental work because I just don't have the qualifications or the knowledge.
That doesn't make any sense. But yet you're arguing that you shouldn't brush your teeth. You should only let a dentist brush your teeth.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
That is
saying
pretty
for something
analogous.
like for something that would demand a dentist. So daily maintenance doesn't demand a dentist, but let's say some sort of advanced periodontal, let's say operation or
Okay, we're rabbit trailing.
prescription, right? Like you
We're
can't.
rabbit trailing. Right. So we're rabbit trailing. So again, even if you were to brush your own teeth, that wouldn't prevent you from going to a dentist to get a prescription. Do you agree?
But That's not what we're talking about here. This is disanalogous.
This is the rabbit trail that you wanted to go down. So I agree that your rabbit trail is
well, no,
disanalogous.
my well, here's the thing, right? Is like the analogy that I'm making is in some sort of specialized like dental operation, not in just general dental upkeep, right? If you want to be bad faith about the analogy here, because let's be honest, you don't hire an attorney for general shit that you do yourself. So I'll admit it's not a perfect analogy, but it's, very similar to, let's say, why like you would need a prescription or expertise on certain medications and procedures. That's more of the analogy if we're going to be good faith, but it seems like you're choosing to be bad faith here.
No, I'm going ahead and letting you play Bond's game that you're very interested in.
I mean,
doing.
you can keep reiterating this.
Why do you keep putting my name?
Like I just don't know if you don't possess the basic social intelligence here, but like we're having a discussion. I don't personally care if Bond initiated it or not.
Okay, then let's change.
Okay, let's change the topic. You're having a hissy fit. Let's change the topic then away from anything from Bond.
Just because you showed
let's change the topic away from me and let's have Hillary's Sam actually have a conversation.
I guarantee I have a better idea of what I'm talking about than you do, but like
you're
acting quite pissy.
You're not a lawyer, but your daddy is, so therefore you know all the case law. We got it.
No, I don't know all the case law, but you're not providing any resources. You're just providing anecdotes. Oh, like if you link a case, like I'll look at the side chat right now. There's no cases there. Like I said, I'm willing to concede or find a legal briefing from.
Why are you looking in the side chat when I already said I don't remember the litigants' names? I know it was in Harris County, in the criminal district court. I have an idea of what number it was, but I can't be absolutely certain. But when a judge says which I think is perfectly illegal, let's make sure that's clear. When I hear a judge say in open court, I am going to enter a plea of guilty on your behalf, and then all the stuff because I'm not going to repeat it, but like, was there a transcript taken of that? What's going to happen when you go look up the case? So even if I went and found 3 or 4 of those cases, you're going to look it up and say, oh, it says the defendant pled guilty.
I mean, like, it's going to talk about how the nature of the plea was entered. That's usually pretty standard on court cases, especially those that are like normally recorded. Again, like this just seems like a diversion because you don't have any concrete. Like I'll say what I'll accept, right? So I would say that I would accept something that was, let's say, a briefing from the Texas Bar Association or a briefing from the American Bar Association on the topic.
You think that the Texas or the American Bar Association is going into this court where a guy who hasn't bonded himself out, hasn't hired an attorney, and the judge is behaving illegally? You think that they're there writing these?
Listen, I don't know what resource. I'm giving examples of potential sources I would accept. I can't say hypothetically what.
You're making my point.
Stop interrupting me. I didn't finish this, Hillary's. I didn't finish the sentence.
Go ahead and finish.
I can't say exactly what that briefing would look like because sometimes they do systematic studies of court outcomes, right? Like those do exist within bar association studies, like unless you disagree with that. So like it could be something like that. It could be some sort of civil briefing, maybe an amicus brief on behalf of a defendant. Like there can be a lot of different things that can exist as evidence. I'm just not going to take your say so because it just doesn't sound possible.
Right. It's because it's something you haven't encountered before in your own personal life, and so you're unwilling to take eyewitness testimony from an expert who was actually present.
You just don't come across as an expert. I'm just going to be honest. Like I'm laying out, I think, what are reasonable standards. If that's not reasonable to you, we can change the topic.
The issue is, I am telling you that I can't provide any of those, and I'm telling you the reason why. The judge, like you just said, could probably be disbarred for doing this, and yet he did it. So why would a judge?
So basically, we're going off of.
Okay, you're talking while I'm saying, why would a judge document his own illegal behavior that would result in him being disbarred.
Because A, the judge doesn't document the behavior, the court recorder would. And then secondly, like again, like you're just appealing to some random anecdote and you're a guy on the internet I don't know. So
Right.
quite frankly, I don't believe you. So like
That's
if you're
fine.
going to just keep filibustering and looping on this exact same point, we're not going to get anywhere.
Right. No, it's fine. I'll accept all of the concessions that you made and all your agreement with me because, in the totality, it seems like you agree with everything I said. It's just that you want to conflate that if you represent yourself and hire an attorney, you're going to have a worse outcome. And then when I asked you why it would be a worse outcome, you couldn't give me an
Well,
answer.
statistics indicate that it's a worse outcome.
Well, if there are, what statistics are there where a person is first seat and they hire a defense attorney to be their second seat?
They've done studies on outcomes of self-representation. I can
See,
look if they've
okay,
mined
so
that
hold on,
specific
hold on.
scenario.
I
I
want to
can look
follow
if
up.
they've mined that. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I'm happy to look into it for you.
You because you keep saying self-representation. I want you to find out cases where a person,
Like, do you have
because I have a
anything beyond
feeling, I have a
anecdote
feeling,
here? Like,
I have a feeling,
this is
right,
fundamentally uninteresting.
right, because you're making claims and they can't back them up, so you're uninterested in being caught in your
I
lies.
mean, this is the
But
guy
that's
who's
okay.
talking about random anecdotes that none of us can verify. Like
Eyewitness testimony.
you can try
You
to
don't seem to understand what
play
eyewitness
these
testimony
rhetorical
is.
games, but I'm
Aren't you
literally
a
the only one
scientist?
who's appealed to any sort of normal
So,
legal
so,
standing, and I'm the only
so,
one who's said sensible things. So like you can
well, you're
continue
full
to
of shit.
grandstand.
You're
It just
full of
makes
shit,
you
but
look like
that's
you're a
okay.
petulant little girl.
Right,
Like,
you're full of
that's
shit.
fine.
That's okay. But you're a scientist, so you don't ever make observations?
I'm not that type of scientist.
Yeah, so you're not a real scientist. Got it.
No. Like,
But
what do you
that's
think
okay.
I
You
do
can be
for a
a fraud.
living? What do you
I'm
think I
more
do for a
than willing
living,
to
buddy?
accept your admission that you're a fraud.
See, this is where you're just being childish.
Well, you've been childish all along, so I think I'm
No, I
entitled
think,
at
I
this
mean, we
point.
can look at what people think and we can have people judge them. I think that you're just being a child because you don't want to make substantive points. You want to seem like outwitted the big bad guy. And that's fine, man. If you're that
No, you're
insecure,
unwilling.
that's completely fine.
You're unwilling to accept empirical observation, but yet you claim to be a scientist, so that's
I don't
great.
accept anecdotes. Scientists don't
Okay, you
accept
keep saying
anecdotes as
that. You keep
evidence.
saying that. Eyewitness evidence is not an anecdote. You don't
It
seem to
can be an
understand
anecdote,
what
and this isn't.
observation is.
We don't have actual evidence that you witnessed this event. It's an anecdote.
Well, we do.
No,
Just
we don't
because
have any
you're not willing
evidence
to
that you
accept
would.
it.
I asked you to produce evidence. You said you can't produce evidence, so it's an anecdote. Like, why are we looping on this?
No,
I've
it's
already
not.
told you
It
what I
doesn't
would
work that
accept.
way. It doesn't work that way where you just filibuster and gish gallop and word salad, which you've been doing.
What's a word salad about what I said?
Okay, I'll concede that. It wasn't a word salad, it was just a gish gallop.
What's the gish gallop about it?
The fact that you think that eyewitness testimony is an anecdote, that it doesn't matter just because you don't know what my professional background is, there are other people here on the panel and in side chat who do know what my professional background is, they do know the years that I was employed in that profession, but yet you don't know, so to you it's an anecdote. Because
you are a random guy on the internet.
no,
to
I'm
me
not a
right now,
random guy.
it's an anecdote.
I'm a very specific person. Just because you don't know what words
Okay,
mean,
are we
that's not what random
are we
means.
gonna throw a hissy fit and interrupt me one word into what I
No,
was saying? Okay, like continue.
not
Come on,
surprised. It's
continue.
not random.
Continue. I've
It's
already
not
told you
random.
Okay,
many times.
can we please make it so one person talks without interrupting the other? Thank you. We're back.
So, like Hillary's, I'm just gonna say it again. Unless you produce some sort of case file or you produce some sort of report from and I'm willing to be very flexible on this, then we're just gonna keep looping.
Yeah, that's
I've
all
laid
you
out my
are,
standards of
looper.
evidence. So, like, if you want to keep looping, that's fine.
Yeah, you're a looper. We got it.
You're the one who keeps bringing up the same thing over and over again, my guy.
And you don't seem to understand what evidence is. Learn what evidence is. Learn what eyewitness testimony is. How can
I don't think it's
scientist?
acceptable evidence. I've laid out that like I've laid
I
out
don't care.
that I don't care
what
about
you
your
want.
anecdote. You seem
Wonderful.
very upset by that. And like,
No,
I don't
no,
really know
I,
why you,
I,
I've
no,
laid
I'm
out
not
what I think
upset.
is a reasonable set
Now
of
you're
criteria.
gaslighting.
And you keep like, you just keep going off like some weird emotional old fogey about the fact that I'm not impressed by your claimed background. When I've
No,
said
not at all.
I have an exact criteria, and you keep just looping around to how I won't accept your story, and that makes you upset. And I'm sorry that you're upset by that. Like, I don't know
No,
what to tell you.
You are so full of shit.
How
You
am I
love
full of shit?
gaslighting because all
How
your
am I
claims are bullshit.
okay,
You're fake.
stop.
It's okay.
What is
You already
gas?
admitted to being a fraud. I'm willing to accept you being a fraud. Continue.
Wow, you are like really childish.
Oh, come on, little girl. Are
See,
you
like, look, we're going schoolyard insults now. This is really mature from someone who clearly is a legal expert of our time.
Yep. A scientist that doesn't even understand what evidence is.
Again, just another personal attack, no actual substance. Come on. Like, we can change topics. It's very clear that you've lost your cool on this. We can change topics to something you're less emotionally involved in.
I think that all the audience sees how full of shit you are, and just because you're trying to gaslight and project.
How am I full of shit? Again, what have I said that would imply I'm full of shit?
Pretty much everything that you said. But if
See,
that is a classic. You're talking.
This is a classic.
You're asking me a question.
I'm not going to hear. See, this is just a classic. This is a classic gaslighting tactic from you. What's wrong? Everything. Pick out something specific. Something specific.
Hello, one at a time. Jesus.
Yeah. Sam, maybe you're too stupid to understand, but if you ask a question, someone starts answering, you don't just keep going over them to try and confuse them. If I was to go back and pick out 3 things, all that you would do is use the same tactic of trying to talk over me.
Pick out one thing then.
You're pathetic. You're a scientist that doesn't understand what an observation is. You're too stupid.
I understand what an observation is.
You're saying that I have to provide evidence that I said right at the beginning I'm unable to come up with, because
then that's fine. We can move on.
Again,
I've suggested many times we move on. I am sorry you have early onset dementia.
You're just talking over. We can do this all day.
Okay, pick out one
so
thing
if
then.
I'm saying that there's no way that a judge is going to document his own disbarable behavior, the crimes that he's committing, and then you're saying, well, this is the only thing I'm willing to accept. Or I want Russell's Teapot, where the Texas Bar Association is going to come in to some misdemeanor case in a pretrial hearing on every 30 days. There's another bond hearing, and the person that's accused is saying, I'm refusing to pay the bail. I want my attorney. And the judge says, we're not going to give you an attorney, so you need to plead guilty. And they keep going around the same loop for 9 months. That's 10 different hearings. And the judge is still saying, because you're unwilling to go with the program of the crimes that the judge wants, where you have to pay him, in order to hire an attorney and get bail or plead guilty. And the judge says, and again, this is eyewitness testimony, whether you're willing to accept or not is irrelevant, because I am not here to please you. You came in because you wanted to give Bond a blowjob. Apparently, you don't want Bond to give you a blowjob now. You would rather give him a blowjob, and that's fine. You've been doing a great job with your rainbow party. So go ahead and slurp, slurp, little fella. But anyway,
dude, I haven't said anything in the last hour.
Can we if you're going to complain about people, this is just mostly puerile insults.
This is only gone an hour long.
This is just puerile insults.
Exactly.
This is the game that you wanted to play, Bond. I
haven't said anything in the last hour, Hillary.
So let's do
It's been Scientist Sam burying your face into the concrete.
Bond, you really are that.
And now you want to bring my name into it about blowjob.
Well, he sees you having had a few drinks as an easy target. and that's
Oh,
fine. Like that's
well,
what
No,
bullies
that's
do,
not
right?
it. It's
This
well,
not
is
no,
what
no,
about an
bullies
no,
do,
no.
easy
and
target.
that's
You can say
fine.
When I,
that.
when
A
I
few
see someone
drinks.
playing the game, lets you and him fight, and I call them out, which you have not been able to dispute
Let's
yet.
say that I have had a few
So,
drinks. What does
so,
that
so that's
change in
fine,
this
Sam.
conversation?
If you want to go around sucking on glory holes, then go
No, no,
ahead.
no,
I don't
no,
mind.
I don't know
no.
why we're
We've
Let's
like
been
say that I
why
saying
have.
that all
why
along.
we're
Let's
You've been
shaming people's
hold on.
fetishes. Like I
Let's
don't
say
have
that I
that
have.
fetish, but I just don't
I don't
really see
mind.
that.
I'm not shaming you for it. I'm embracing it. You
Shut
go
the fuck up, Jesus!
Let,
One at a time.
let's say I have had a few drinks. What does that change in the conversation that Hillary's and Sam have had?
Hillary's and Sam didn't have the conversation.
Oh,
Bond
you didn't
did,
have a conversation. Okay.
and Sam was stupid enough to jump on
Okay.
it. Just because
I mean,
Sam was stupid enough to bite, that doesn't mean that I'm engaging in a conversation with him. It's
You
not.
haven't had a conversation with Hillary.
He-
Hillary,
he-
you haven't had a conversation with Sam this last hour, 45
I
minutes.
have been having a monologue, and he's been having a monologue. We have
Oh.
not been communicating together. No,
Okay.
I
I
would
mean,
not
I've responded
miss a
directly to what
conversation.
you've said, so I just
Exactly.
don't quite understand. Like maybe you just don't have that ability to interact with people socially. I don't
Again,
honestly,
you're
I don't really
projecting.
see because like you seem to be honestly just like quite emotional about the fact that I don't respect what you say at face value. It just doesn't gel with
No, that's
my
not
personal
it.
experience
No, it's
of
your
talking
name
to
that I have a
experts,
problem with.
but I'm fully willing to be proven wrong if you provide something that isn't your own anecdote.
Again,
Like that's it. Like it's a low standard of evidence for me. Like if you're going to allege something that's a systematic issue, I expect something that's at least like a formal case file.
so what's this anti-Semitic hashtag that you got? What do you have against Jews?
I am Jewish. It was a joke.
Oh, so you're just a self-hating Jew. Well, that explains it.
Why would my hashtag denote self-hatred?
Because you say that you're a self-hating Jew, and I'm willing to accept that. I know I've
What about the hashtag makes me a self-hating Jew? You don't know what the reference for the joke is. It's just a joke, it's a meme.
okay. Yeah, I asked you about the anti-Semitism. You said that you're a Jew, and you're right.
How's
I
it
don't know the
anti-Semitic?
reference.
How is it
I don't know the
anti-Semitic?
reference. Right. I
How's it
don't know the reference.
anti-Semitic? You're the one making the allegation that it's anti-Semitic. I'm just very curious because like if I'm wrong that it's not just a cheeky joke that has nothing to do with anti-Semitism.
Well, you could have made that claim if that was the case, but you didn't make the claim.
Real quick. Can I just say, if Brojo has something to say to me, he can click the link and come into the stream and stop staying in his safe spaces on his channel and other channels. He clicked the link just like Sam did, just like Hillary's did, just like I did. Click the link. If you got something to say, come in and say it. It's really easy. It's very easy.
Yeah, it's quite easy.
It's very. I think the
So-
StreamYards, right? This isn't even Restream. This is
Nope.
StreamYards.
I
Click
mean,
the
if
link,
it's up to
join the stream, and
if scientist Sam could do
no,
it,
no, no.
then
I'm talking right
literally
now,
a
Hillary's.
retarded
Hillary's. I'm
3-year-old
talking.
could.
Hillary's. Here's.
I mean,
Hillary's.
you can keep with the personal insults. It just kind of
No, I'm
makes you
just
look
continuing.
childish.
I'm continuing with what your thing
So
was. That's what you
all I'm
wanted.
saying. Hold on. All I'm saying is, Brojo, if you have something to say to me, like you've said in the side chat, if you want to be a rat chat or side chat, whatever, keep on typing. If you got something to say to me, say it to me. Click
I don't
the
think he
link.
has anything to say to you.
He probably doesn't, but
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm enjoying the meme, but I don't think he has anything to say. To you.
Yeah. He's one of those people,
But anyhow, I want to know why the hashtag's considered anti-Semitic.
You tell me.
I don't think it is. I think it's
Well, then
entirely
that-
related.
Wonderful.
Okay, so do we have like another topic then? Like, I'm sorry you're so huffy about this. I don't know why you get so upset.
Man, your gaslighting won't work. It's your
I mean,
disingenuity. It's the fact that you're a liar and a fraud, a self-admitted fraud. So I don't take you seriously, and I don't think anyone else here does. I don't know. Midnight, do you take Sam
But
seriously?
I
Rojo,
have a
DT?
topic for everyone.
sure, go for it. What's up,
If
Vaughn?
midnight. How does everyone feel about how Trump is handling everything with Iran and all of that right now with his brilliant 3 strikes that obliterated everything?
What
I
topic, fellas? Kidding. Go ahead, Sam.
I think that it's unclear to me what the actual, like mission aim is, right? I don't think it's net like if he says regime change is on the table, I just don't really think that regime change wars work. But it's
Yeah,
not
I
clear to
mean,
me that he has a coherent strategic viewpoint. That's my
yeah,
take on it.
yeah. I mean, I think for me at least, maybe I'm not educated enough on it, but it felt like we kind of intervened on this with like we're gonna come to peace talks, and then after we made the strikes, it's like Trump came out and said, "No, it's time to talk about regime changes." It's like the goalposts moved with Trump.
Yeah, I just don't think that I don't think that Trump has a coherent view of the Middle East.
Yeah. I don't personally. I don't think Trump has any idea what's going on. I think he has some people in his ear. He had some people in his cabinet
Well,
that
you
he
look at
was
someone
with
like
that
Rubio,
he
right?
kind of
Rubio's
straight against.
kind of traditional, right? Rubio's super
Mhm.
traditional about his views and sort of like a very rules-based order guy. Like, I don't think great, but kind of, orthodoxy more or
Mhm.
less.
Yeah.
I just don't know what Trump believes about it, and I do think, right, like it's kind of I don't like the idea that we're jumping in for Israel for no real strategic reason.
Yeah. I mean, it almost seems like it's Israel first, right?
I think it's
Not America
Netanyahu
first.
first because
Yeah.
I think he likes Netanyahu, right? And
Yeah.
Netanyahu, I think the reason he's doing it, there's some very real concerns for is like I'm fine with Israel intervening because like I think Iran wants to annihilate Israel, and it's clear that they were, at least on the
Mhm.
road to developing nuclear warheads. But
Mhm.
like that's not our fight, and
Yeah.
I don't
Exactly.
know strategically why that makes any sense. I mean, I think that
Mhm.
Netanyahu also is doing this because it's cynical, because the last time he had a big popularity bump was
Mhm.
when they struck Hezbollah. So that's what I think is probably going on, especially since he just survived a vote of no confidence in the
Mhm.
Knesset, the Israeli
Yeah.
parliament.
Do you think that what's his name from Israel
Netanyahu
did it?
or
Yeah, Netanyahu did what he did to keep his power.
Yes, I think it's an element. I don't think it's the only reason. Like, I do think that a large portion of this is because Iran is clearly making moves
Yeah.
towards a nuke. And then also the fact that, like, Iran has been trying to encircle Israel during this whole conflict, right?
Mhm.
Like, Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, these are all Iranian funded and pretty much led militias, right?
Mhm.
So I think there's a real political reason, but I also think that it is overwhelmingly popular in
Yeah.
Israel to attack Iran. That's my read on it. I'm by no means an expert, but
Yeah.
I'm just kind of factoring in the prior that Netanyahu is extremely self-serving. Like he's a really
Yes.
slippery politician.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree there. What do you think, Hillary's?
I already have a stream on it. You're more than happy to go ahead and watch.
Could you give us clip notes?
Right, I can give you the clip notes. America is the only nation in the world to have the GBU 57s. So we're the only nation that could take out the nuclear material that Sam says the 7 nuclear bombs are no threat to America, the big Satan, the Death to America group. And so, like, Israel didn't have the capability to use the bombs that they didn't have, and no other country in the world had the capability of using them. So we took out the nuclear material. Trump had a good way to make sure that we didn't have to invade, we didn't have to do regime change. I don't know why that's even being brought up, but
Well, it's
yeah.
being brought up. Regime change is being brought up because Trump said it himself.
Okay, was he saying it because other people were asking him questions about it?
Regardless, it's being brought up because he said it.
Okay, so he responded to questions, and then so people are now bringing it up. Well, he said previously that his goal was not regime change.
Well, what I'm telling you, what he's saying right now.
I'm answering
I don't, Hillary's. I don't care what he said previously.
Right,
I'm telling you what's being said right now.
And I'm telling you what's being said. And
yeah, previously. You're telling me what's being said previously. I'm telling you what's being said right now. So he said
for 11 years. So let's get
caught up with the current
for 11 years.
Events.
11 years, right. For 11 years, his policy has been that he is not going to have United States troops conduct a regime change. Are you now saying, Bond?
Hold on.
Bond, is he saying the U.S. troops
Iron
are
Man, can you moderate for a second?
I know that you're drunk, so I want to make sure you understand.
Can you moderate for a second?
Can like we have? I think that I got to be honest. Like I don't think that Bond is, despite any drinking he's done, is coming across as the childish one right now.
I'm not. I look. I'm not even drunk right now, dude. Like these are just accusations is made. Right?
They're just
because Trump.
What I'm saying is, I'm listening to press conferences that are going on. I'm listening to live feeds that are going on, and Trump has said that he is not opposed.
Hillary, please. Bond was going, and then Bond was first.
He made that accusation. He said,
why is this even an issue right now? Trump has literally made press conferences about this. Why is this an issue?
I am answering about it. You don't want to know what my take on his current stuff is.
I understand. No, Hillary's. Your take is a week ago. I'm talking about right now. So let's keep up with current events.
Again, since you don't understand what's going on in real time, I'm asking you again.
Okay, I don't understand what's going on in real time.
Bond, listen, sweetie. Is Trump on the news right now saying that he's going to commit U.S. troops to a regime change in Iran?
There's about 40,000 troops that are ready to go.
There's what?
There's about 40,000 troops that are ready to go. 30,000, 40,000.
Okay, you keep trailing off the end. I hear there's 40,000 troops. Blah, blah, blah.
I keep Oh, wow. Okay.
Hold on. There's about 40,000 troops ready to go.
Midnight. Can you enforce something where Hillary's just can have a civil conversation? Because this is just it's not productive.
Exactly.
Yet you just want to lie about what a fraud you are.
Okay, look.
Do you see what I mean here, Midnight? He's trying to allege that I'm this doesn't bother me because he's just being a child. But
Sam, can't you let Iron speak? Let Midnight speak.
Even Brojo, look at the chat. Even Brojo says 40,000 troops stationed in bases around Iran for years. They're ready to go.
Okay. I'm trying to do the best I can here. Okay, and I know it's crazy. Everyone wants to get their turn in or whatever. We have I don't know. But
can we at least get something some sort of moderation against the really unprompted personal attacks? Me and Bond were having a completely civil conversation, and Hillary just wants to be an arsonist.
No, Sam, you came in throwing Molotov cocktails. You fell for Bond's trick. You exposed yourself as an idiot and a fraud, and now you're crying about it. Just suck it up, Buttercup.
Do you see what I mean, Midnight? Do you think that this is how a reasonable person acts?
We're not. Look, Sam, we're not having a formal debate.
Iron Man.
I'm not even requesting. Wait, Bond, was I requesting a formal debate, or was I requesting someone just not being an arsonist?
Sam,
to the conversation.
You are the arsonist. You are the arsonist. Quit burning it down.
Sam, you made reasonable requests.
And I was trying to answer it the best I could, but interrupted, which is fine.
I'm being labeled as this alcohol.
No. Let Midnight. Let Midnight go ahead.
You're the one that decided to talk over Midnight. Go ahead, drop the hammer and stop muting people.
Okay. Okay, look, I'm trying my best here. Okay, I do kind of agree that the Hillary's does go a little bit overboard with the insults, but that's just who he is. But okay, I would appreciate it if while on my stream you could maybe tone that down a bit, or or not do it at all. You could do it. You could do it anywhere else you want. Deal?
No, if Sam decides to go with his bullshit, he asks me a question and then just keeps talking and won't shut up, and he wants to make all these insults against me, then I'm going to do right back to him. Now,
So you can insult me and say that it was a
Bond,
drunk.
shut
I'm
up.
just
Bond,
drunk right
shut
now.
the fuck up.
Are you gonna just
Kidding.
sit there and say that I'm drunk right now?
You're the one talking about how drunk you are. I didn't mention it.
You
What I'm
said that
saying
I
is
was drunk originally, Hillary.
You're insulting me.
You brought it up, Hillary.
You're the only person. You're the only person here, Hillary's, that is really having a tough time keeping their emotions in check.
Exactly.
And like maybe like take a deep breath, step away from the computer. But like this is like the level of maturity that I expect from like maybe a 13-year-old. So like maybe try to contain yourself a little bit, because this is it's quite honestly just pathetic.
You is going to accept your gaslight. All they have to do is go back and listen to how you came in and the bullshit that you promoted, and then you keep on doing these manipulative
How I came in, or
techniques.
What
again? You're jumping.
Hold on, Hillary's. You just said go back and look at how they came in. Who came in?
How you came in, meaning Sam.
Were you here
I was
when I
talking
came
to
in?
Sam.
Hillary's.
No, he was talking to me, not to you, Bond. He was talking to me, not to you.
Okay, because Hillary's wasn't here when I came in.
I mean, personally, I just think
this
is. I just think that Hillary's is someone who he needs to really feel that he is, some sort of weird, most knowledgeable alpha in a room. And like, while that's pathetic, the worst consequence isn't just like his emotional immaturity; it's that it just kind of wrecks the conversation for everyone else.
Yeah,
that's my only gripe. I don't personally like. It doesn't bother me that he's gonna, run up and down and call me a fraud all the time, even though he doesn't know anything about me. It's just that he's going to keep doing that.
Didn't you just say that you wanted me to tell him to not throw insults? Now
it's because it just keeps because it's disrupting the flow of the conversation, and it's impossible to have a conversation if he keeps looping on these same like interpersonal conflicts.
Bullshit. You're the one. Anybody can go back to I don't know, 50 minutes ago when you first entered the room. And again, Bond wanted you to play, lets you and him fight. You were stupid enough to go for it. You wrapped your mouth around his phallus and started sucking away. And so then, which is fine. I'm not kink shaming you. You feel free. I mean, I know a few other people that hang out at truck stops. So that's
do you see how he's just looping to the same exact insults again and again and no substantive conversation?
It's what you do. Yeah, if you want to do it, then that's on you. But so what? Your complaint is that you want new insults?
Okay,
it's that like let's actually have a conversation, like not
right now anyway.
Not just keep but you just can't stand that you had people disagree with you. And like that should be something that hopefully earlier in your life you got over. But like for the sake of the conversation, like learn to get mature.
None of what you're saying makes any sense. You keep saying this gaslighting bullshit. You are the
what
one
is gaslighting?
When you try to make a person
no, like the act of gaslighting, because you keep using that word, but you don't know what it is.
Midnight. If you don't mute him when he keeps talking,
he's gonna leave. He's gonna leave.
Look, God, I fucking hate this.
I mean, this guy keeps saying gaslighting. He sounds like a teenage girl who just learned that word on TikTok. Like, what?
God, if you're too stupid to listen to my description of what gaslighting is, and then you're going to accuse me of being a girl because
give the description.
Psychological projection.
Give the description of what your gaslighting is.
I've asked you many times to give a description, and you haven't given a description because you're being
you won't shut the fuck up.
Child.
We're waiting.
We're still waiting on you, buddy.
Seriously, Midnight. If you're not going to use Sam, I'm tired of bullshit.
Hold on. I'm removing everybody. Okay, let's all take a chill pill. Okay, I get that everyone is is it, I guess, excited or, just in competitive mode. But for the love of God, let's ease it down a bit. I guess, like, with the exception of Sam, I love both of you. Okay, obviously we have our issues, but I'm gonna bring in now then people. I'm gonna bring in people now. Like, I can't do this with you. I can't do this in any. I'm gonna do this in any order. I don't care. You, and you. There you go. Did I make sense, or did I just go crazy like I usually do?
I am not going to permit these other two
No,
to
we're
ask
waiting
a
on Hillary's
question,
to
and then
give
when I
his
go to answer,
definition
that
of
they
that
just want to talk
and his
over.
examples.
Oh, Bond,
Okay,
just
Bond,
go ahead and
please.
start the things.
I know you
Is
hate
that
me
not
right
what
now.
we
I
were
know you're
talking about
talking
just
with me,
now?
but mute for a second. Anyway, sorry, Hillary's. Go ahead.
No, it's bullshit. They can't handle a civil conversation. Sam comes in, can't handle simple evidence. He's a scientist that doesn't understand what an observation is. He asks a question, and then when I try to answer, he just wants to filibuster and won't shut up. And then he tries to gaslight the audience and the host, and tries to make it pretend like the fact that when I'm trying to answer his question, I'm somehow doing what's wrong. And then he
What
tries
question,
to complain.
Hillary's? What question were you trying to answer that he didn't let you answer?
I was
That's
answering
a good question.
gaslighting was, but nobody could hear me because
Go ahead and
Kid
answer it
Sam
right now.
wouldn't
We're
shut
all
up.
muted. Hillary's answer it
Yeah,
right now.
okay,
We're all
I'll
muted.
answer it again because Sam's too stupid to understand. Gaslighting is when you intentionally try to make a person seem like they're crazy or out of touch with reality by altering their perception of what actually occurred and trying to rewrite things.
Does everyone agree with that, or now they're quiet?
I'm fine with that. I don't know about
Okay.
Sam, but yeah.
And the fraud that's
I don't know
calling
that I agree that
scientists
that's what
can't.
Sam was doing, but I'm
Well,
I'm
but
fine
he
with
was the
that
one claiming.
definition. I'm fine with
Right.
that definition. Hillary's, if you can let me speak.
I'm trying to.
You're trying to, but you're still running your mouth.
Every time I'm quiet and you then, while I'm quiet, tell me how I'm running my mouth, that just shows me that you're having some sort of difficulty understanding the flow of time. If I'm quiet, then I'm not running my mouth.
I mean, to be fair, you are kind of interrupting him.
Exactly. So what I was trying to say before Hillary's interrupted me was I'm okay with that definition. I don't know that that's what Sam was doing, but I'm fine with that definition.
And you
And now
said
we
that
got to. Go ahead.
you made that same statement.
So you're going to
twice,
interrupt
and
Midnight.
then I
Midnight was
start to
talking
say,
just now, Hillary's.
again,
Midnight was
shut
talking,
up. You can't
Hillary's.
shut up.
The host, the channel
Oh,
owner.
Bond,
Bond, I appreciate it,
Hillary's.
but don't defend me. I was more making a joke. Okay, go ahead, Hillary's.
But what I'm saying is
No, you're not saying anything.
when the channel owner talks,
Right, that's what I told
participate.
you earlier, Bond. Thank you for parroting what I already told you.
Shut your mouth whenever the channel owner talks.
Thank
right?
you.
So here we go.
Christ.
Thank you.
Bro, Joe, how do you do this? How the fuck do you handle 10 people? I can barely hold 3.
Okay, well, I can answer. I can't say how Brojo does it, but what I've observed Brojo doing is he will mute people when it first starts.
Yeah,
When
so you should have been
when
muted
Bond and
already,
Sam
Hillary's.
came in running their mouth.
Exactly. You should have been muted, Hillary's, a long time ago.
And then when Sam tries to gaslight the audience by claiming that I'm doing what scientist Sam did, then they would have gone ahead and put him backstage and said, "Hold on, everybody can go back and look. You were the one doing that, Sam. You're now trying to rewrite history and gaslight the audience by accusing Hillary of doing what you did, Sam."
I don't think he's back yet. Well, obviously, but maybe he took his dog out. I don't know what his dog is doing. Anyways, I'm just talking randomly.
It's okay. We love your voice, Midnight. It always.
I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it.
Well, I don't really love your voice, but you know.
Yeah, well, I know you don't.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You like to
surprised you're still here,
but you know, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. Midnight, Bond, do you think what I was doing was gaslighting?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay. That's
No.
the only point I'll make here, right, is that the person who just disagrees with me, who doesn't like that I don't accept their anecdotes, is like, that they are very upset about that. And that's fine. Like, that's perfectly fine. I think it's childish and I think it's destructive to a conversation, but that's fine.
So, should we change topic or still
Well,
hold
I
on
wanted
with-
to talk a little bit. So to support Bond, I mean, last night on Truth Social, Trump was, what did he tweet? Or Truth or whatever the fuck it is. He was talking about how to make Iran great again and why regime change would be a good thing. And so I think it's reasonable to be cautious. Yeah. I think it's reasonable to be cautious about regime change. And also, there's not evidence that Iran had weaponized their fissile material, or that they had the types of intercontinental range that would affect America. But I will say that it was clear that they were going towards weaponization and that Israel was in immediate danger. So I think that, like I said, I think Israel is justified in their claim of preemptive self-defense. I don't think that America is.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to disagree.
Yeah.
What Scientist Sam and Bond, whiskey-laden, whiskey-soaked, drunk-ass
Throw in
Bond,
that, Holmes. That's
they
fine.
can't seem to understand
Don't give the actual
is
point.
that
Just throw in the
cargo
other
containers
stuff, right?
are Midnight. Are you going to help? Come on. If Bond can't control himself, somebody's
Dude,
got
I'm
to
muted
moderate.
right now.
Now he is. Go ahead.
Just talk.
Come on, just mute, please. Why not?
Anyway, you don't need an intercontinental ballistic missile to deliver a nuke. Now, I would agree with Scientist Sam where he says that it wasn't weaponized. I have heard nothing saying that the 7 bombs worth of fissionable material was weaponized. The issue is you don't wait until after a person has a bomb to get rid of it. You get rid of the material before it becomes a bomb. And so, if we waited until they got 7 bombs, they put them on cargo vessels and sailed them into New York Harbor, into near DC, maybe even by truck for DC and LA, and there, like, it's too late.
I
I
just
don't
don't
know.
see why. Well, I don't see that as a plausible scenario. But beyond that point, like, and again, you like, let's just be very clear here. We have no evidence that this was going to be something that they were going to use against the U.S. Like, but I think it's very plausible to say they were going to use it against Israel in the immediate term. Hence, I think that they have a just cause for their worry.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair that you could say that they're going to use it against Israel, right? That's pretty fair. At least the potential.
I think I think it's been clear through October 7th, through Hezbollah's involvement of trying to destroy Israel, that and the Houthis, right? Like, their engagement of proxies. I think it's quite clear that there's a reasonable present danger. I just don't see that type of action against the U.S. until we attacked them, and then that goes into inflame. Like, the issue that I have is it's inflaming attention, and now they're attacking U.S. bases, and that just leaves, like, the escalatory nature of that does lead to the type of war that Iraq and Afghanistan were. I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's analogous. I think that Iran is clearly much more of a present threat, but that doesn't mean that I think it's a good idea.
I mean, it was just a few hours ago that it was reported Iran sent missiles to attack U.S. bases. Whether they were successful or not, they sent them.
Yeah, and I just don't see how the logical response to that is just now Trump's going to do nothing. Like,
yeah,
I think the logical response is going to be that it just continues to escalate, and that's just not something I want for that region.
Yeah, it's going to escalate. There's no
I hope
don't
it doesn't.
know.
I hope I'm wrong. Like, I want to say, I hope I'm wrong.
I just don't know that there's any best case scenario that comes out of this, as far as
Well, I think Putin is so the one saving grace is Putin is so preoccupied with Ukraine right now that
Mhm.
Russian support for engagement on Iran's behalf is non-existent right now. It's just it's not feasible.
yeah, I
And
don't know.
so like, and I don't think that Syria, now that Assad has been overthrown, Syria is not in a position to support Iranian action. So I think those are two potential positives in the calculus.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, honestly, there's nothing that, regardless of my opinion on it all, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? So
Yeah, my concern is
I
I have friends and family in Israel.
yeah.
So that's my personal concern with it. But beyond that, like you said, I can't
No,
do anything about it at this point.
Yeah, I have some friends of my mother's that are missionaries, and they're in Israel right now. And they're having to take cover quite often. So,
But unlike Hamas, Israel does construct bomb shelters for its people. So
yes,
there is that positive.
Yes, yeah, they do have the opportunity to get into bomb shelters and be safe, But it's still scary, whenever you get those alerts.
Oh, of course.
Still frightening, But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm in Texas. I don't know.
Yeah, your vote, if you aren't a Trump guy, basically doesn't count. It's such a big gap.
Yeah. Most of these things are going to affect other people before they affect me. So,
I mean, I will say this administration has affected my industry quite greatly. Just got a chilling effect on funding for projects, which has been upsetting.
Have you seen a lot of losses for funding on certain things?
All across the board. Yeah, and I mean it's trickling into. I work in industry. I don't work in academia anymore. And right now, I mean, you're just seeing a global drawback of R&D. So I do work in R&D, but I work on the development side. So development franchise is doing fine. But the early research franchise right now is suffering. So I know a lot of people who are now out of work because investors don't want to put money into early stage companies right now, and companies don't want to put investments into new drugs because they're very uncertain about what the regulatory architecture is going to look like for developing new therapeutics and things like that. I can't speak to the greater biotech area, but for us, that's the state of play.
Yeah, I've had 2 family members that I've had to take some sort of package or agreement where they just left their job. So,
I mean, I think globally, this is just like it's overall. I mean, I don't, again, anecdotal, but I just don't know anyone who feels particularly secure or safe about it, because the problem is it's unclear what RFK actually believes, right?
Yeah.
And all indications are, I mean, I don't work for a vaccine company, but that he is an anti-vaxxer, but it's hard to say how that stuff will trickle down to more conventional, but even cutting edge therapeutics, right? Like, why would you invest in something cutting edge if like you have this wackadoo that's regulating you,
Yeah.
And I think the drawback of the FDA was a terrible idea. Now it's making clinical trials go even slower and will make drugs even more expensive.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Bond, can you explain to me what wackadoo scientist Sam was just talking about that you were agreeing to?
Say that again?
Can you explain to me what wackadoo Scientist Sam was just talking about that you agreed to?
Well, if I understood him correctly, RFK has ideas about different ingredients and different things that go into products that
Oh,
may or
okay.
may not. Go ahead.
No, thank you. I was reading the side chat, so I missed that point. Now I understand. Thank you.
So, do you want me to continue, or do you want me?
No, what you've already explained to me was enough to catch me up on what I was missing
Okay.
in the
Okay.
live discussion.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you, Sam.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, I don't.
Like the passive aggressiveness is pretty palpable.
I don't.
Oh, is that
Wait, hold on. How was that passive aggressive? He literally asked you what you two were talking about. He was direct.
Well, I mean, he's just kind of doing sideswipe insults for literally no reason. It's pretty
Where
passive
was the
aggressive.
insult? Hold on.
I think he
Where was
thought
the insult?
that. I think he thought that I wasn't gonna be aware.
Well, you called me wackadoo for
Yes,
no
exactly.
reason.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah.
insult, right?
Hold on.
Well, actually, no, hold on. Hillary's, please. One of you said wackadoo. Okay, if you want to go back to the tape later, whatever he did, but
Hillary
one of
said
you
wackadoo.
used wackadoo. Okay,
Bond,
whatever.
Bond, you seem to misunderstand, and Scientist Sam also was not listening to himself. If we do go back 2 minutes, we will hear Scientist Sam talking about the wackadoo regulating with the architecture and all this.
No.
Did not know what
No,
you guys
he
were
never
talking.
used
Bond,
that term.
shut up.
He
Shut
never
up.
used that term.
Yes, he did.
I think I
If you're
said
stupid.
I think that the way that he worded things and made it sound like you were making a sideswipe insult, and that's a
No,
misinterpretation on my
yeah,
part.
I was specifically asking what the wackadoo was, and then Bond said RFK, and then I was letting him go ahead and talk, but because I understood that's the wackadoo that Sam meant was RFK, then that's
I
what
don't
I
think
said.
I brought up RK first, but
No, I
I'm gonna
think
go back
I
and
think
look.
what he's saying. I think Bond
gonna go
just
back
Okay,
and
you know
look.
phrased
what? Hold on a
things.
sec. Hold on a sec.
We
You know what?
misinterpreted what he
Fine.
said. It's
I guess
fine.
we'll have to. I guess so. Do you want to go back, or should we just move on from this?
No, it's fine. I admit it. I just said I think I misinterpreted what he said because the way that
Okay,
he
fair
phrased it made it seem like he was insulting me. It's not a big deal.
All right, so I guess we can move on from that. Because I specifically did hear what. Never mind. Moving on. Anyways,
I literally already admitted it. Why? Like Jesus fucking Christ, slow in the uptake.
well, I am retarded, so you know.
That's fair. That's fair. Accurate and correct.
What a day! I start streaming again after like 3 years. How this happens? You gotta love this. Well, I can't say I didn't ask for it.
So Midnight, what's going on your end of things?
Nothing much, you know. Just still being me, I guess. And that's what it was since we talked. Obviously, figure you've been busy doing whatever. Yes,
Yeah,
Virgil.
mostly
You know
work.
what? Yep. Oh, hold on a sec. Okay. Please do not flash yourself. Kidding. How you doing, Wildheart?
All right. Hello. Hello.
Oh, just for the record, I can only hold one more person because I went through my team rather than using Sammy's. So yeah, that's why I can only hold 6. Well, yeah. So how you doing, Waldy?
Yeah, not too bad. I won't be here long. I really get to bed in a bit, but yeah, I'm good. Good to see everyone, by the way. It was. Hey, Bon. Good to see you.
Wellhart? Yep.
Besides the sun. Good to see you.
What's up, Wildheart?
Do you know Wildheart, Sam? I don't think you.
I think
two
we've
ever-
interacted once or twice, not in a while, but
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, Midnight, I'm part of an emerging team on at a big pharma, so I've been busy with that.
Nice.
My job title changed yet again. It's very funny. I do essentially the same thing, but they call it a different thing. So who knows?
Well, I'm glad you're doing well for yourself.
Thanks, me too.
Okay, so I just want to say I went back and listened, and I did hear Scientist Sam said wackadoodle. So it was fair that Hillary's asking that question.
Yeah, I think it was just the phrasing. I misinterpreted it the same way that you did.
Yeah. I
Just
just
a
wanted to go
miscommunication.
back. I mean, because I'm the type of person that if I'm wrong, I want to know that I'm wrong. So I went back and who's laughing? Who's laughing right now?
Well, Hillary's is, but I'm laughing because she's laughing.
Well, Hillary's, why are you laughing right now?
Because I know what you're doing.
No, what I'm saying is I muted and I went back and listened and I heard that phrase mentioned. And I'm saying that right now.
Yeah, no, but that's
So I don't understand what's funny about it.
I understand. If I'm wrong, I want to know that I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm wrong, I want to know I'm wrong. If I misheard something, I want to know I misheard something. You know, I don't understand what the laughter is about.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably something interpersonal between you two that I'm not aware of. So
maybe so.
Not going to comment.
So. But at least I'm willing to admit, yeah, something was said, and you know, I didn't admit it earlier. I didn't hear it. You know,
Midnight, what do you think of RFK?
I don't know who that is. I don't keep up with politics that much. So yeah.
Bond, do you have any thoughts?
I have some mixed feelings about RFK. I think he has some good ideas about nutrition and health, but I think he borderlines and I think he sways a little bit too far. On
what would be some of the good
side.
ideas? I'm very curious about that.
I think he should. I think his good ideas are getting rid of a lot of the getting rid of a lot of the fake dyes and things like that.
Why do you think that? I'm
because
just interested.
Do you think what is it? Do you think the fake dyes are okay? Like what is it?
Red 40. You're probably
yeah. Like Red 40, all whatever colors that are made to make things look a certain way, like Red 40, like corn syrup and things like that. Seed oils. Do you think?
Well, let's start at one. So, like Red 40 only causes cancer in, it seems, rats. Not even in other model organs. It's either rats or mice. I'm off the top of my head.
Yeah. But, I think it's rats. Yeah,
but not in humans, right?
Yeah, but you can't really test. You can't ethically test things with humans with that stuff, right?
Yeah, you can. Randomized clinical trials.
You can feed humans certain substances that you're trying to test if they cause something.
Yeah. How do you think we develop drugs?
I think a lot of drugs that we developed in the past were done before a lot of
like
laws
currently.
were passed.
Let's talk about currently, right?
Okay.
And within the era of this, like we do randomized clinical trials for safety, right?
Yeah.
And we do escalating dose trials and follow-up studies. I'm reasonably confident. Probably doesn't do anything. I think the seed oil craze is just fucking wild to me because there's literally no evidence that it's any worse for you than a saturated fat.
I do agree with you on that. So I'm a little weird, right?
Oh, as a
I-
backup, because Doubting Thomas was asking, not to interrupt, human
No, go ahead.
trials. I actually work in clinical trials, so that's the type of
yeah.
the development cycle that I'm in. I don't run clinical trials, so I'm not an expert in how they're designed, but
Mhm.
I have a reasonable amount of expertise in some of the general themes.
Yeah. I just know, at least as far as a lot of studies that I've read, I don't see the need for having these fake. I shouldn't say fake, but these dyes and these extra colors inputted into our foods and drinks.
Well, that's just capitalism, right? That people enjoy having the bright, vibrant colors.
Yeah, but at what cost?
I mean, as far as the evidence indicates, no cost except to the manufacturer. And they're getting a return on that investment.
Do you think that some, and I'm asking you because I know that you work in this, well, you're more knowledgeable in this industry than I am, far more knowledgeable. Do you think
But like,
that-
don't take my word for it, right? Always look
No.
up this stuff yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking your opinion. This is all opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a reason why other countries ban certain dyes and we don't?
I think that a lot of times, like, there's arbitrary regulations on things, right?
Arbitrary regulations.
Like, you would agree, for instance, that some countries have legalized marijuana, but some have it illegal. Does that mean that marijuana should be illegal?
No, but
Well, what's the fundamental
Why-
difference there, right? It's
well, I think there's some deeper industry. I think with the U.S. with marijuana, I think there's the whole drug on wars, the war on drugs thing.
Plus, I wouldn't say it's necessarily arbitrary either. Even
But-
though some make it illegal and some make it legal, the reasons for that, I wouldn't call them arbitrary, but that's like a pedantic
Right.
point.
They could vary by region.
But
Right.
if the majority of the world is saying we don't want this specific dye,
I don't think the
in this-
majority of the world has that for any given dye.
you
Unless
don't-
I'm like completely off. Yeah.
okay, no, I may be completely off. I may be wrong.
I think it's mainly just the EU, and the issue isn't that it has been shown to create cancer. It's just they're saying it doesn't benefit, there's no nutritional benefit to using it, and so we don't want to have one more thing that we're adding that's unnecessary that might potentially cause harm down the road. And because we have a socialized medical system, it's not in our benefit to take that risk.
Well, I mean, my understanding of European regulation is they tend to be much more precautionary than the U.S. does, at least on safety stuff.
Mhm.
Is generally the case, but I mean, the official statement, the official stance of the European Food Safety Authority is that there's not a link between color additives and behavioral effects.
Well, up to a certain point. Right.
Well, I mean, that's right. The dose makes the poison,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I'm not saying there should be limits on literally any ingredient.
There should be limits like in the product or what the
Yeah, I mean, it would
individual
obviously be
consuming.
per product, right? Like,
So if the individual consumed more than that limit in the product, there shouldn't be any kind of regulation.
well, I mean, it's per unit, right? Like, all of these things are poisonous per unit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that there's enough salt. Like, it's possible to die from eating too much salt, right? You
Well,
can't-
it's possible to die from drinking too much water.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
there's
Like, you
that.
can't regulate that, but you can regulate per unit what do you sell, right? Like, there's a acceptable amount of impurities that we allow in bottled water, as a for instance.
Yeah, there's acceptable amounts of impurities that we allowed in all of our foods.
Bond, the
And
name of
everything
Yeah.
that we intake.
drinking too much water is a hyponatremia, I think. When I was in the Air Force basic training, a guy actually did die from that.
Yeah.
There's been many people that have died from that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why our country allows for needless color changes.
Well, what do you think about the reason that I gave? And Sam seemed to back up that because in Europe, the EU has socialized medicine, it's in their benefit
I
to
didn't
not
back
have
that up.
additional. Pardon?
You're misstating my stance, and I would appreciate it if you took me at my word.
Well, I was taking you at your word, but
I
had
didn't.
just
I didn't.
stated-
I at no point did I agree to what
Okay,
you said.
state it again.
Okay,
State it again,
wonderful.
Hillers. State it
Wonderful.
again.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and redo it. I had said that because the EU has socialized medicine, so they're the ones paying for it. They want to have a reduced amount of risk that they're willing to accept among their consumers because they're the ones having to pay for the medical consequences if there are any. Sam, as I understood, then phrased it a little bit differently. But if you disagree with me, then what's the disagreement?
Okay.
Well,
but-
the disagreement is that I didn't say anything about socialized medicine. I just think it's sort of a cultural and regulatory approach that the EU they tend to have a heavier hand in regulation.
I think, yeah. I think Sam was saying that they take more precaution, like they
They're
take
just more
stances.
precautionary.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just took that since it came right after the statement that I had made. I took that as similar that yes, the EU
I
is taking more precaution because in America, like if it's up to the individual to get medical care, then why should the government care? But in the EU, since they have a monetary vested interest, of course they're going to be tighter on their controls.
Well, the EU doesn't have a collective healthcare safety,
Okay,
like a healthcare safety net. It's not a collective; it's each individual country, right? So the point you're making gets devolved into individual countries, and not every country has the same
right,
payer structure.
right.
So I just don't think it's that. I think it's more just the culture around the EU, and I think that just generally has to do with the fact that they don't have as much of an emphasis on regulation in general.
Thanks for the clarification.
But yeah, I mean, I also like, again, like, do you think that we should illegalize Doritos, for instance?
I think we should have some sort of high tax on there, on Doritos, on junk food.
So I don't disagree with that, by the way. But like, where does regulation? Because it seems like you agree, right, that there aren't really good studies at normal consumption that food dyes have any measurable effect on health, right? At reasonable
Yeah.
dosages.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
scale
No,
those things to the toxicity, I think, in rats, but
Yeah.
I would have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think we agree on most stuff. I've talked to you before. You probably don't remember. I've talked to you before a lot about fitness and health and lifting and stuff years ago. You might not remember, but I think we agree on most of it.
Yeah. But like my whole thing would be is like, why are we putting undue scrutiny on these ingredients, right? I think that there should be a reasonable amount of scrutiny. So like, for instance, the whole fear mongering around seed oils, I think outside of excessive consumption, there's just really not a good health case to be against seed oils.
Yeah. I think
Because like, I don't think you can, because the thing is, you can't legislate good behavior is the big problem, right? Like I think the problem is like people eat more and they move less on a
Mhm.
macro level.
Yeah. I think a lot of people they move less because they're sitting in a desk, sitting at 90 degrees at a desk for 9 hours a day,
Yep.
and that's not good.
And they want to feel a little bit less bad about their crappy life in front of the computer, and so then they eat junk food, which then makes them gain weight. So they don't want to exercise when they get off work, and it's a big vicious cycle.
I mean, I think there's a fair amount of it of like we do have a culture, and I think this is also just a human universal where food is a celebratory thing, right?
Yes.
Right.
And,
yeah.
and like I don't think, and I think that there, for instance, gyms do demographic information so that they can maximize profit, right? So there's a reason why corporate gyms just don't open locations in more
Yeah.
impoverished neighborhoods, and that's why the
Yeah.
correlation is nearly perfect.
Yeah, you have gyms.
Between things like negative diet effective, like things like obesity, for instance, is almost like linearly correlated. Like it's a very strong, impressive correlation between socioeconomic status,
Yeah.
and like obesity. I forget how they measure it though.
So like a lot of gyms nowadays, they're gonna charge like $10 to $15 because that's the limit that people are gonna see in their bank account. And they're like, I'll go this week, I'll go next week, I'll go next month or whatever. It's only $10, it's only $15 or whatever. And a lot of gyms charge $10 to $15.
It's a volume business, right? So if you spend money on shit tier weights and shit tier equipment, Planet Fitness, I'm thinking of specifically.
Planet Fitness, Life,
yeah, like they make money off of people not using those.
Yes,
things. They don't make money off of people using the equipment.
They expect to continue because of people that are paying into a system that they don't use, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I just don't know necessarily like. So here would be my argument against RFK, besides the fact that he's a conspiracy theorist who is wrong about nearly everything he says, right? Besides that prior, and we can get to any of those, is it's a distraction, right? Like there was huge outrage. I don't know if you remember, but when Michelle Obama was trying to do a lot of the same things in terms of get outside, move more, eat healthier lunches. Yeah. And the problem is I just think it, to a large extent, it's a marketing problem. I have my own feelings on why that's the case. I think people don't like taking accountability, so they'd rather blame the food supply. That's my personal opinion, but I couldn't tell you if I had any. I won't stake it with high confidence because I think it's just an opinion. But yeah, I just don't see like how this circus about vaccines and his ridiculous like vengefulness against Anthony Fauci really helps any Americans.
I don't see how Fauci or any of that helps the health of people, like physical health. Maybe I can see some of the art, and I say this very loosely. I can see how some of it maybe looks kind of suspicious on some of his stuff, but
well, like what kind of like? Can you be more specific?
Okay, so originally, when all this stuff took place in 2020, 2019, whatever years it was, a lot of people were saying just stay indoors, wait for whatever we come out with. A lot of people were saying you need to get these specific vitamins, right? You need to actually concentrate on your health. So I don't know how do I put this. I think a lot of people were led astray in 2020, 2021 because they weren't really told to focus on their health. in certain vitamins they needed, and they were just told to take certain injections.
So, do you think it's? I'll start with this. Like, do we agree on kind of like the broad scientific consensus on the effectiveness of these
Yeah.
vaccines?
I
So, like, we agree that, for instance, on the initial strain, within the first 3-month period or 4-month period, it was about 90 to 95% effective in the clinical trials phase 3. But then in the actual general population, it was something like 85%, where effectiveness is the relative risk of infection, relative to
Yeah.
no. And then when it was the Delta variant, it was roughly 64%, and then Omicron was roughly 50%. Like,
so I agree with you on that. I took a vaccine, right? I took the first dosage of Johnson and Johnson, right?
sure.
I took that dose. I had family members that took they took other doses,
Mhm.
other companies, and then they didn't take any more. Right. So we trusted. We how do I put this? We trusted the studies that were going on
Sure.
with that. We at least, well, I shouldn't say we, but I read a lot of studies. I concluded from that you know what, this may be the best course of action.
I've got a question. Since these are proprietary information, how did you get the studies? Because it's my understanding that they were suppressing any information.
No. None of that was
No,
suppressed.
they published all of them. I think mostly New England Journal of Medicine, if memory serves.
Yeah. I had I actually it's funny because I actually gave DT a lot of studies about this during that time, and I read through many more.
Okay.
I remember having conversation with my mom. She was like, "Hey, I don't know if we need to go see my sister and her husband because we're trying to have a baby right now. I don't know what we need to do." And I told them, just quarantine, stay to yourself. This is what the current studies are saying. And then let's talk about it more. And it was a very weird. It's a very weird time in history. Because I was having to tell my mom, like, hey, just calm down. And these are the current studies that are going on. And I don't want you to risk anything. Because I was worried. I was worried in that time.
Yeah, I guess I feel like through the middle of that, we kind of lost where you were going with what you were saying. So, like,
yeah, I probably would.
Like, I'll agree with you. I think that, like, it should have been based on evidence.
Yes. Yeah.
I always come back to this same thing, which is that, like, when people, like, I think that no one really knew what they were doing near the beginning, and it should have been pegged to local infection rates.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, for instance, there's just no other intervention that was as powerful as the vaccine in terms of cost benefit, right? So I think we did see you get better immunity from a natural infection, but then you have to undergo a much larger relative risk. for
Yeah.
adverse effects.
Yeah.
And you know, that on a society basis would have cost us even more, right? Like we can
Yeah.
do the econometric studies of how many man hours we saved through the vaccine, and that it's really good. But I agree. I mean, I think that a lot of people were kind of, there was a lot of groupthink, and I think, like, you know, from my end, I was finishing my PhD, and my focus was actually on I was using viral infections as a system, and I actually was doing mRNA preps using BioNTech, Pfizer's protocol. So for me, I had a very strange thing because people were like, "Oh, this is the most poisonous thing," and I'm like, "Well, literally, I'm, you know, using the reagents in the lab every day."
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I hear you on that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I also
I
wonder
get
how
it.
much of this is kind of an American centric.
Yeah, it is Americans. I heard what you had to say, and you might not even know it, but I heard what you had to say. I heard what Doc Savage had to say, if you remember him.
Yeah, he would know much more than me because he actually
he
was
was
involved with manufacturing.
Oh yeah, he was like gold mine of information. Doc Savage. But I try to lean on those. And I just try to make the best decisions from there. Right? Best decisions from there.
No, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. And I still do, right? Like even with the strikes right now with Trump, right? Hillary's, do you agree with what Trump is doing right now? 100%.
I doubt that I agree with anything that Trump does 100%, and I don't know what he's doing at the very moment. All I can do is specify specific actions that he's taken.
What do you not agree with him?
I think that he has a really weird way of talking. He uses a lot of rainbow statements and Barnum and Bailey stuff. And so basically he uses a lot of words without saying much, and then that means that it's open to interpretation by everybody. I think he should be very clear and concise. It would also be better if he let other people speak for him instead of him getting out there and speaking.
Okay. I'm sure
I think it's I think it's just very strange, you know, the amount of kind of during that time, the thing that always struck me that was bizarre, because I knew someone who was working very closely with the federal government on some of their financial stuff. And it was always very strange to me that most of the anti-vax Republicans were actually vaccinated. That always struck me as very odd. And then you would see the opposite end of the spectrum, where you'd see people like Gavin Newsom having these house parties when you were supposed to be, you know, having small gatherings at most. So the hypocrisy, I think, was something that got to me a lot.
When you say anti-vax Republicans, what do you mean by anti-vax?
Like, I like people who refuse to take the vaccine.
But you just said that
they nominally were against it and were trying to undermine it, but privately they had taken it.
Okay, well, I guess I'm confused, because my understanding is they were saying that it's up to the individual, that people shouldn't be forced to participate in medical experiments that they don't, you know, that they're not informed about. And so I don't think that's anti-vax to say that people should be able to make these choices for themselves.
Well, I'm being very specific here. There were a lot of Republicans that were actually vocally against the vaccine. But to your point, I don't think it was part of a medical experiment. I think that was a piece of misinformation that unfortunately gained a lot of traction among the right.
Didn't Congress pass some sort of law saying that Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer didn't have to release their findings, the trials that they conducted for like 75 years?
I'm unsure on the specific details, but it was the normal types of consent shields. I mean, the findings, the top end findings on the clinical trial were released in the New England Journal of Medicine. So
Okay, but again, even though they release their findings in a journal, if they're hiding information, let's say I can let's say
wait.
trial.
1 second. One second. Do you, just so that we're on like kind of the same page with things, you agree that like, you know, companies have the right to keep some portion of their data internal, to maintain things like internal record keeping or maintaining patient consent and stuff like that. And that stuff is almost always shielded within reasonable privacy concerns of the patient and the company, right? Because these are still companies, they're still trying to make money.
Okay, you're using very ambiguous language about reasonability. What I'm saying is, if
Well,
they
like for
can,
instance, identifiable information would be shielded from public release.
I don't think that people need to know who all is taking the trials, if that's what you mean, like the people involved. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that's required. But I do want to see the raw numbers. Like, okay, if you injected these people with this stuff, what was the actual outcome? Because I know, like with FDA trials, let's say I've got a new drug that I'm wanting to come out with. I can conduct the same trial like 20 different times and just never report the ones that failed. But then I can come out with the one anomaly that, due to the law of large numbers, there's always going to be some outlier. And then if I, present the outlier as the norm, like that's how they get approval for some stuff, right?
That doesn't really happen in practicality because patient recruitment costs so much money that you just wouldn't be able to stay afloat financially.
Okay.
So typically, companies will not run. I mean, I can say this: like, my company wouldn't rerun a trial if they didn't think it had high probability of success, because you're talking about tens and possibly hundreds of millions of dollars per trial.
But if the government is granting you the money to come out with the drug, and you're going to make the money if you get it okayed, like you could do several small tests, right? You don't even have to have 300 people per group. Let's say you got, I don't know, 58 per group.
You're not gonna, except in the case of rare diseases, you're not gonna. Well, first off, you're not getting the federal government isn't giving you grants to run these studies.
Yeah.
Typically, that's going to be investors or the business division.
Right. But I mean specifically Operation Light Speed. I think that's what they
Warp
call it.
Speed,
Warp Drive. Okay.
Warp Speed, and those were trials themselves were funded by the companies themselves.
Okay, then what was the money for that the government was giving them?
Well, that was they bought out all the doses, right?
Okay.
And you wouldn't, again, like, and I've worked on some of the indication scoping. You're not going to find those, like, you're making reference to numbers that just won't occur outside of rare disease.
Okay.
So you're outlining a scenario that just doesn't happen, and just for purely monetary reasons. But like, I think that like companies should have the right to, they should have the right to maintain like some under the hood stuff, because like they're companies, right? But the actual data on the patients, like the actual data on the patients does still have to be filed with the FDA. But there's
Right.
you, for instance, wouldn't be able to view a lot of that information, just simply for the fact that in order to have privacy laws fulfilled, you can't just have random people in the public looking at raw data.
Well, when you're saying raw data, again, I don't care about the names, the people involved. I just want the numbers. Like, okay, this is how many were in this cohort. This is their
That's in the journal
alpha.
article.
Okay.
Like these things are already published, so I'm a bit confused where this is coming from.
Don't know all this stuff about the medicine. I heard some of the congressional hearings, and I'm trying to understand what they were talking about.
I mean, do you think it would be better to go towards, the scientific journals? Because a lot of these clinical trials actually have podcasts that are accompanying them. Like, I know that what's the name of the journal? I think
I mean,
it's JASN, so Journal of the American Society of Nephrology. Now, for a lot of their podcasts, they do podcasts on individual clinical trial results for a lot of them.
right, but I don't care about like in general. I'm just thinking back, like Bond said back in 2020, like Fauci first said, oh yeah, if you're, definitely, if you want to go on a cruise, if you want to go on a gay cruise, I don't know why that he was that specific, but apparently somebody asked him. He's like, yeah, go ahead and go on it. There's no problem. And then people made fun of him and said, who wants to be on a cruise ship where you're, breathing in recycled air? Um, just for a singles cruise. I think that's what was the issue. Like, I guess somebody had asked him. I don't know if it was just a call-in show, but somebody had asked him, like, I'm wanting to go on the singles cruise. Is it okay? And like, so people were making fun. Why would you go on a cruise ship where you're bottled up in a tin can with recycled air? Like, that's the worst place to be if you're going to be around a virus. But yet, he made that claim. And then other people were saying, what about alternative ways to deal with this? What about getting vitamin D and being outside? And then the CDC and the governors are coming out and saying, not all governors, of course, but like Newsom, oh yeah, you need to, be inside. Don't go outside. Just keep being bottled up. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So you got to be in a room or a house with all these other people and just keep recycling it. Kisses, calm down.
Can we? So, like, the first thing that I'll say, and we can stick to one. Can we stick to one claim at a time? Because you do
Sure.
tend to go on to these wandering trails. I'm not saying that as an ad hominem. I'm just making a remark.
Let me take my dog outside because she's like making a bunch of noise over here to go outside, and then I'll be right back in like a few minutes.
Okay. No, vitamin D doesn't really. So, vitamin D, unless you're deficient, doesn't really do anything for most. Like you can't take vitamins out of a cold, right? Like there's some evidence that vitamin C might shorten duration, but it's a marginal effect in comparison with the vaccine. I just always wonder where people get this information from. That's more what I find interesting. It's like, where do you, because I see it now with the Israel-Palestine conflict, right? It's like, where do people get their information? Because they're clearly not reading history books. I don't know. Any thoughts, people?
Yeah, I was thinking just like common sense, which doesn't seem to be that common, and just like vitamins are generally good. So, it's like, I wouldn't call it information, but, just, yeah. Vitamins are generally good, therefore it might help with the cold, maybe. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just, yeah. I don't know. Common sense is not always a good guide on things.
Yeah.
Spooky Bed Hair says Joe Rogan. He's probably right on that.
Who can argue
COVID
with
literally broke his brain.
And I'm sorry I've been quiet, but yeah, these topics are way above my head. So
Oh, no problem. I'm
I
happy to clarify. I thought the claim that like companies would just rerun trials is fucking wild because
yeah
it on average costs something like $100,000 to enroll a patient, at least
right.
for some of the econometric modeling I've done
Yeah,
for my last company. So we were estimating to have it was going to be a cancer trial enrolling. It was going to be phase 2. So it would have been like 400 patients in total, something like that.
yeah,
No, 250. Which do the math on that, right? 250 times 100,000. Like, why would I want to repeatedly run that?
yeah,
And you have to keep in mind, right, is like you have entire departments of companies that their job is to basically design how many patients do we need to enroll.
yeah, yeah. That would cost a hell of a lot of money. Yeah. So
It's why
again,
most pharma companies fail, right? Most clinical trials fail as well.
yeah,
I'm back.
Okay. So as a parenthetical, I'm kind of uninterested in like the what Fauci said. I'm more interested in what the data said. I understand for a lot of people they kind of look at politics as like a, a, a drama play. I just don't tend to look at science that way. As for alternative treatments, the problem that I have is like, why are alternative treatments not held to the same standards as, let's say, the vaccine?
Well, the issue is that each individual should be able to decide for themselves, that the government shouldn't be forcing people to take things that the people don't want injected into their body.
Well, I think that there's a
Like,
give and a take, right? Like, so like at the same time, right, I'm a taxpayer and taxes do go into our public health system. Like, why should my taxes be burdened by someone who makes a terrible choice, right? Or why should my relative risk of infection be bolstered by someone who doesn't want to abide by, let's say, workplace safety standards? I think there's a tension there, and there's like not a clear white and black and white thing there.
okay,
I mean, do you disagree with that?
no,
Okay. Did you believe in any of the alternative treatments?
believe in. I think that vitamin D has been is useful for a bunch of stuff. I don't know how effective it is against fighting off viruses and that, but I think it does help with a healthy immune system. And so when Gavin Newsom decided that he was going to arrest people who were out by themselves, no one within 100 feet of them, and they're out on the ocean, then I think that was really silly. That I think that person should have been able to make that informed medical decision for themselves that they want to get sunlight because they're not endangering anybody else. Ivermectin, I have no idea. I've heard lots of things, but in the absence of any clinical trials on it, if people wanted to take it and there was any possibility that it might help, and it was a safe and effective drug, where even if it was just a placebo, I don't see why the government chose to clamp down on their free speech and allowing them to speak.
Well, the government, I don't think was well. So there's several things. They have now run clinical trials on ivermectin and found it to be ineffective. So, like, my
Okay,
question of why doesn't it get held uh,
well,
to the
it
same
does.
standard is still relevant, right?
Right. I'll
Um,
answer. I think that it should be held to the same standard. We shouldn't be forcing people to take ivermectin if they don't want to take it.
but also the public health recommendations, because the thing that happened, and this happened with hydroxychloroquine, is these are medications that have real uses. And when you squeeze the supply, you are effectively screening out people who would use these medications for legitimate purposes. I know someone who this happened with hydroxychloroquine, in fact.
Okay, I don't know anything about hydroxychloroquine, but if that was the argument, then I think and again, this isn't about, public policy. This is just about messaging. Then I think that Fauci should have said that. He should have said, "Hey, look, people are allowed to use whatever they want, even if it's a placebo and has no benefit whatsoever. Chances are it's not going to make you any worse if you take whatever horse medicine. But just know that there are people who need this medicine for treatment of these other conditions, and by you choosing to take it and your doctor giving it to you, you're posing a risk to them. And if he made that argument, I would have supported that argument.
But do you think like some of that does come through like the prism through which people view these things, right? Like, so for instance, just to call you out on earlier in this conversation, you were completely unaware that, clinical trials, when they get published in medical journals, release all of the information you wanted, right?
Correct.
And so if you're getting filtered through people's prisms, and you have the greater medical community is saying, hey, like, let's not do this. This actually does cause medical shortages, right? Like that certainly showed up in my news feed, but it's algorithmic, right? And
Right.
so you can't rely on you can't rely on hoping that people get the relevant information, because a lot of this information I'm talking about, like literally you were unaware of. It had been available for, damn near half a decade.
You mean from today? It's been available
From today, yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay.
these are things that have been available. And like I think that there's a whole different issue of like, as a society, should we be messaging people, say, hey, just do whatever you want for this, when we do in fact have, something that is reasonably scientifically proven to work? Right? Like I've never seen a clinical trial that's as big as the shots.
Right, but that is after the shots were actually made. But initially, in February and March, like we didn't have any shots. We didn't know what was going to work, and I saw them in real time clamping down on actual doctors, including here in Houston. There was a doctor from the medical center that said, "Hey, look, I have used this whatever that horse stuff was, um, in Africa to treat these other conditions. We have no idea whether it will benefit people with this or not, because this is a novel virus. But if some people are willing to take it, then I think that we should have that and track the data." And she was shut up immediately.
I mean, look, I can't validate whether or not, like, parenthetically, like I don't know of any government censorship, but like I would have to look into particular cases. But again, like it's outside the scope of your practice to speculate on something that works for other conditions and say, because it works for other conditions, it must work for this virus. Right?
Right, and
That's
that's not what she
entirely
said.
scientific, but that's entirely scientifically inaccurate. And in fact, we had the early drug discovery data that they were basing this on suggested that the effective dose to kill the virus would have been poisonous to most of the population.
Okay.
It's not only that, like, it's not only that there was no data, it's that there was data contravening the use.
Right, but when you say there's no data, that's specifically what I'm saying. She admitted she has no findings to say that this will do it, but she had reason to believe, based on her prior experience as a doctor with treating these conditions, that she thinks that if some people are willing to take it and they could track the outcomes of those individuals, this is again February, so it's early in the disease, that she thought that they should have done it. And
You
she was
don't think it's medical malpractice then to like recommend something for which, I'm going to reiterate, this doctor is point of fact wrong, right? We did have contravening evidence that the amount of dosage necessary for the antiviral effect would have been poisonous to most humans. You shouldn't be, if you're a doctor, you shouldn't be recommending non-vetted treatments. That's inappropriate behavior. And I think that her institution is...
She wasn't
Okay.
recommending. She was speaking on behalf of the people that wanted to try it out. She just said they should be allowed to try it out and that we should track it.
That's still irresponsible behavior. If it's going to be tested and tracked, it should be in a randomized controlled clinical trial It should be held to the same. Like, I feel like this is kind of like there's no way of slicing it where this isn't sort of it's either it's medical malpractice or it's trying to have your own rules for an unvetted compound. Like, unless I'm missing something, like you shouldn't be like that. Seems highly inappropriate for a doctor to be saying, quite honestly.
I don't know, advocating for people to, use whatever treatment they choose doesn't seem to be malpractice to me. What is the standard for malpractice?
I said it was inappropriate. I didn't say it was malpractice, but if I implied it was malpractice, I wouldn't know if it formally went underneath it. But you shouldn't be recommending things that aren't vetted, right? Like you are duty bound as a physician and someone who's received a certain level of education. You have an obligation to your patients in our healthcare system to endorse things that are backed by data and not endorse that type of kooky stuff.
Okay, but you keep saying recommending and endorsing, and again, this woman was not recommending or endorsing it. What she
Okay,
said
you shouldn't be
was,
floating it as an option if there's not evidence behind it.
I was going to say, yeah, what would be the difference between that and saying if people want to go out and drink battery acid because they think it will help them, that's fine. What's
There's
the
not, there's not a substantive difference there, and both of those are irresponsible things to say.
Yeah.
It's a good example.
yeah.
Like, it just seems to me, right, is like people want to, and I understand that. I think that there were some overreaches, right? Because like clearly, like there shouldn't have been the backdoor OSHA invocation outside of relevant workplace safety, right? I work in a job where I can be completely remote, right? Because I'm a computational worker. But for people who can't, right, like then that introduces a different requirement. And people who, are essentially hermits, like, I don't see really a reason to get the vaccine unless, you're trying to protect yourself. Personally, I think that like the rational decision, if you look at the plus minus, is to get vaccinated, but like I'm not going to compel people to be rational. That's not how society works. But I don't understand this. Like we would never hold a doctor to this standard except when it comes to that virus.
Okay, my understanding, and you know more about this than me, is that the giving people the mRNA did not give us herd immunity. All that it did was if you contract the disease, it makes the symptoms less dangerous in you, correct?
That's incorrect. It gave some degree of herd immunity because people who are less likely to get infected are also less likely to pass on the virus.
And did this make people less likely to get infected or only lessen symptoms after they were infected?
Yes, if you had looked up the clinical trials, you would have found yes. And some of the subsequent follow-up studies.
Right, but as we've already said in this discussion, I wasn't aware of all that, so I couldn't have looked it up, expecting me to do that within the last hour, I think. Like, I wouldn't understand what I was reading anyway, probably.
Listen, I'm just throwing back a little bit of the energy you gave me earlier. I'll lighten up. But like, where were you actually getting information on this? Because I'm just kind of getting the sense that there's something that's flawed in your epistemology here.
A lot of it was from the congressional hearings, and then from the statements that I heard the various doctors make, and then they were immediately silenced.
Did you ever look at, let's say, larger medical associations? Did you find that to be relevant?
For a lot of the claims that were being made, no, not really, because like at the time, the government, Congress was paying doctors to say if you died in a shark attack or being hit by a bus, as long as the doctor says that you had COVID, then they got some money off of it.
That's not what was happening. I understand that there have been individual misdiagnoses of deaths, but broadly speaking, and this is confirmed via excess death numbers, that broadly speaking, these were accurate attributions of cause of death. And also, the American Medical Association isn't run by the government. What about adversarial governments that were saying the same thing? Right? Do you believe that there's like some conspiratorial world order across, the world?
Which adversarial government do you mean?
Well, like for instance, Russia was trying to get a hold of vaccines and develop their own vaccines.
Right.
Like, for instance, do you think there was like collusions to find the exact same conclusion across multiple governments?
When you say collusion, I think that as human nature, like if there's a disease and they see it's having a really horrible impact on society, like in China and then in Italy, that every government was trying to do what they could. They were scrambling to protect their populace.
I mean, I agree, but I don't see again, I mean, we're talking about multiple studies, both academic and non-academic sources, governmental and non-governmental. It just kind of seems like what you were looking for was not the highest quality sources, at least even to just know, right?
Well, again, back in February, before we had the injection, like how could we have known much of anything? Again, I'm going to go back to like we had doctors coming out with just spitball ideas, not saying that they were right. They just said, hey, like one of them said, just like we used to have measles party, people in their teens, their 20s are probably have the best immune system. So if healthy kids that are in high school and college want to go to spring break, that we should go ahead and allow that. And then if that wanted to like spread out wider and wider, let's protect the most vulnerable people, anybody that's sick or compromised immune system or elderly or any of these classes, let's go ahead and get herd immunity among everybody else and like let us spread out. And then they were silenced immediately.
I mean, I don't know why I do not know why you're dodging the query about looking out for the most authoritative sources.
Because at the time there wasn't any.
Okay, but then we started to have sources,
right? And then that's fine.
Quite afterwards, so I don't know why you're referencing February when the things that I'm referencing would have been accessible around, late in 2020.
Right.
And even then beforehand, we had in vitro data that suggested that ivermectin was not going to work at normal human tolerated doses.
Okay.
So again, we did, in one case, we did have data. And then in the other case, you just neglected to look into what the experts say. Now, if you have a principled reason as to why you didn't look into that, that's very interesting. But if you didn't, and it was just negligence, I'm fine with that being the case. I used to be much more negligent about, for instance, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I knew kind of the sketches of basic things, but I didn't know as much as I do now, obviously. Because I looked into it, and I can name the reasons why I was negligent on it. I can self-reflect on that.
In humility, I would not have understood some of these scientific papers. I could have only read the abstracts. So,
but what about statements from medical associations?
Once the government went in and started pumping money into it, it's kind of like with the environmental issue. Like once government starts pumping money into one side of it, it's very difficult to believe that there's objectivity left once they start pumping money in.
But, do you okay, that might apply to, let's say, do you think that was just universal across all of, let's say, Western Europe?
No, but I wouldn't even know where to go to get those studies in Western Europe.
Well, I'm not even talking about looking at studies. I don't even think you looked into what the medical associations were saying. Because again, a lot of this was actually made of, this was made available in plain human language that even you would understand.
Right, you're right. I was only going off of the reports that I was hearing and the congressional hearings that I was watching. I wasn't looking outside the U.S.
So why do you trust Congress, but you don't trust? Why do you trust congressional hearings when you don't trust anything else that the government puts its hands into, when Congress is the most proximal thing to the government and, by your own logic, would have the most incentive to be swayed by political and not actual motivations.
You're right. If I would have, I guess, cared more about it, maybe I should have looked more into what the Europeans were saying.
Or,
If
or just some, or just a modicum of self-consistency in the logic. Like,
well,
it's
it is,
fine if you're
it
just
is
doing confirmation bias, but this isn't self-consistent with what you've said.
well, it is self-consistent, and I'm agreeing with you that I shouldn't trust Congress.
I mean, but it's not so, like, in retrospect, now you're being consistent, but at the time you weren't being consistent.
I was just listening to what they were saying, and that's where I was getting a lot of my information, was the testimony that was being given. I wasn't trusting the people asking the questions. I was trusting the so-called experts that
But
were
you didn't look into
testifying.
what into what the expert said. I'm not going to belabor this point. I think my point's been made.
Yeah.
Do you have like a next point you would like to discuss? I'm going to get going in like 5 or 10 minutes, by the way.
No, my point and my only point in this is people shouldn't be forced to take substances into their bodies that they don't want. And the same people who were saying things about bodily autonomy for women, didn't seem to feel the same way when it came to what what some were calling untested medicine. Although the more it was tested, the less I think that their concerns were valid.
Well, I mean, you didn't look into the test, so I don't think that's a fair statement for you to say.
Which
The
part
other,
of it?
well, you didn't look, for you to say the more they looked into tests, the less that they found it was there. I don't think.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was the people making the argument that these were untested treatments, the various vaccines. I think that the more testing was done, the less their argument was valid, because we were getting more data. And for instance, the Johnson and Johnson was probably not a very good one, but the Pfizer was very good. And so I think that forcing people to take the Pfizer vaccine had more weight the more they studied it.
Well, I also think that at no point was it untested except for when it was in clinical trials. But that's beyond the point. But I to test that, right? Like, do you think you have an obligation to like not get other people sick to some extent?
I think that if I choose to self-quarantine, that I shouldn't be forced to take things. If it
That's not
is
the
a
question I
thoroughly
asked. That's
right,
not the
do
question
I
I
have
asked.
do I have an ethical obligation to not make others sick? Yes.
Sure. And if it's one of those things where, no matter what you and I think, right? Like a significant amount of our tax dollars does move through, and resources does move through our healthcare system, right? So no matter
Sure.
what I think, right? Like my tax dollars do go towards some amount of medical care. So therefore, I should kind of have a say in whether, in addition to potentially putting me and other people in danger, like that being dickish and to some degree probably should have been enforced, and that to the degree that my tax dollars are also being impacted, like there should be some obligation. Now, whether that obligation is merely an ethical one or is actually a governmentally enforced one is really where the critical conversation happens, in my opinion. If you don't agree with that logic, but for instance, we enforce hopefully in most counties, mandatory vaccination against measles.
Right.
Right? Like, I think that that's fundamentally a reasonable statement, given how infectious measles is, given the potential lifelong effects of measles, given the fact that these are children, and given the fact that other children didn't consent to being around people who could infect them. Right? I think the exact same logic occurs, but I think it just gets altered by where the data's at. Is there any objection to any of those things?
If a person has been inoculated against the measles and someone that has not gotten the inoculation gets sick with them, say someone coming in from another country, would the person who did get the vaccine still get sick?
Well, the vaccine doesn't have 100% effectiveness.
Okay.
Right? No vaccine has 100% effectiveness. That's why it's called herd immunity. Right?
Right.
And sometimes this is not out of, like, for instance, and I'm going to take your argument to the extreme, but like, for instance, there are forms of blood cancer where your immune system is just, it's never going to mount that great of a defense, right? Like, you can get vaccinated multiple times, but it will never be anywhere near the initial efficacy for a healthy person.
Okay.
Like it's one of those things of like, we live in a society where we ought protect people. And I think that, of course, like, that should be informed by data. And I don't think that many of the mandates were informed by data, but where they were, I think it's reasonable. Like, I don't think we're absolutists about this non-interference in any other case, right? Like, for
Okay.
instance, doctors and nurses have had flu vaccine mandates by their hospitals for decades.
Right.
So it sounds like we don't disagree on that. We
Correct.
just disagree.
I think we're in agreement. Yeah.
So I do have to ask though, what was that snark about, me saying don't trust me when I was saying don't just take my word for it, make sure you double check anything I say. I just think that's responsible, because for reasons of doxing,
No, I
I'm not
agree
going
with
to
you.
release my name. Like,
No, I agree with
like,
you.
I will say this, Hillary, is like, I am making an effort to be conciliatory towards you, but you are a very snide person. And so when you get that energy back, like, you should expect it. You shouldn't get nearly as upset as you tend to.
Okay, you're making that claim, but again, going back to the origin, Bond tried to play a ploy, a very manipulative ploy of let you and him fight. Either you know what that game is or you don't. I haven't heard you ever deny that that's what he was doing.
Sure.
And
I
you
have no
chose to
problem
fight.
with that, but like, there's been a level, like, just to kind of wrap this up, like, I think that we can both agree there's been a level of civility that you have chosen to jettison quicker than I have. And like, I just don't think, and if you're not aware of that, I mean, I think everyone in the chat was noticing it. Everyone in the call was noticing it. I think that in general, right? Like, if someone says, hey, this is what would convince me, if you can bring that to bear, would love to see it. And then you just go, oh, well, you know what? We're going to disagree on that. I think would have been perfectly fine. It would have been a perfectly logical and mature way of handling that. And you didn't want to do that. And like, I think that's just a poor reflection on how you engage with these things on an intellectual level.
Well, I tried to diffuse it right from the beginning by pointing out the trick the Bond was going for, and you seem to be more than happy to embrace it. And so after my multiple attempts at diffusing the issue and trying to find points of commonality, and then you trying to yell over me and ask questions, but then when I go to answer, you yell over me, I found
I
your
would
behavior
invite you to do a little bit more self-reflection on how your conduct was.
wonderful, and I would love for you to take your own advice on that.
Oh, I absolutely will. But I mean, you were the one who kept looping back around to a lot of stuff. You were the one that, like, for me, this is just a playful argument. I'm not upset at all. I'm very good. But like, you were the one who was really dedicated to exposing this manipulative game, which was just me, just like being in there, doing my thing and getting a minute amount of entertainment. Like, I think that you have a lot of work to do on kind of like how you're engaging on this, because you're doing a much better job of engaging now. But I suspect that that's because this is a topic where I know just such a voluminous amount more than you do, that you don't have the ability to actually press on specific points. And I think that your politeness shouldn't scale to your level of knowledge. Your politeness should probably scale to how you want to interact. And I don't think that that's an unfair standard. But you know what? Like, I'm not your therapist, so you have your own good time. Thanks for having me midnight. Bond, thanks for being a shit starter. That was a lot of fun.
I'm surprised. Okay, he left. I'll just say this. I'm surprised you say this. What'd you say?
I said, what a dishonest load of horseshit. He wants to throw in a whole bunch of accusations after I've been dealing with him very cordially, and then he throws out all these attacks against me, all these fatuous claims, and then he runs off.
Anyways, I'm Sam. I'm surprised you stayed this long. Honestly, like genuinely.
I mean, what kind
Also,
of person runs up to somebody, kicks them in the nuts, and then runs away? That's some cowardly shit there.
I wonder if Bond is still here. Ugh.
Yes, bro, Joe, he just did a Jill, and he's been gaslighting the whole time, saying, "Oh yes, everyone in the side chat and everyone in the call," which he doesn't even know it's called a panel, but that's fine. And yet he's gaslighting all the audience that, oh yes, you all saw this, even though you saw the exact opposite. And the reason, now that I can speak, that I was an ass right back to him, he keeps saying he's giving back the same energy. Okay, I guess that's the modern, way of whatever his generation is of saying it. I'm just gonna say it plainly. He came in and was an ass, and so I pushed back exactly the same. He wanted to shout over me, and so I did the same. I'm perhaps not as eloquent as him because I haven't been in the public all that much over the past, well over a decade actually. So yeah, I'm having to cover up for my what do you call them, deficits, and so I'm doing the best that I can. And when he's being a total ass, then yeah, I'm going to point out he's being an ass. And if he's wanting to feed into the game of being a little bitch, as Geo Sam would call it, then I'm gonna illuminate that, shine a little light on it. Yeah, you're being a little bitch. You're being the 13-year-old girl that you're accusing me of being. I mean, it was all full of shit. And then for him to turn around and say that Midnight should be muting me when he was the one that was wanting to do all the over talking, and the only way that I could get anything out was by saying, no, I'm not going to let you just go on forever making all these accusations and gaslighting bullshit. I'm going to respond to it. And then he tries to gaslight the audience more. I mean, what about in, uh, and then all these other accusations he made about disingenuous and non whatever. Yes, intellects are very childish. Also, I agree, Brojo. And Sam, the thing is, again, this is another person where if he would have already been on the panel, I probably wouldn't have even come on because of how little I regard him. But he makes bullshit arguments where oh, Midnight, quit stroking him. I mean, DT, quit stroking Midnight.
well,
Um,
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, DT, if you're actually being genuine with that, I appreciate it. If you're being what's the word? What's the word? Uh,
sarcastic,
what?
sarcastic.
Yeah, sarcastic or pandering or whatever the fuck. Because I don't know. I don't know. Never mind. Continue with what you were saying. Okay, you're being genuine. I'll take you at your word.
Okay, you seriously doubting you were here the whole time? You don't think that he should have started muting people way earlier? Bro just says Midnight was snacking and napping most of the time.
Well, one of those is true. I was eating before, like not the whole time, obviously, but I was doing something. Never mind. I talked too much. I don't know. Dude, but I guess he's busy working. What's I don't know.
But
But what if
anyways, but Sam has already shown himself previously to be disingenuous. All he wants to do is come in and stroke his own ego. I've read enough about therapy to understand this and what he's up to. It's the same old "I'm okay, you're okay" book, and that he got what he wanted. He wanted to come in and throw some bombs, so that's what he did, and he kind of admitted it on his way out. He was the arsonist that he was accusing me of. I agree, DT. Yeah, if Sam hadn't been such a bitch, then I wouldn't have had to respond in kind, and then we wouldn't have needed a moderator to separate and mute us both. But sadly, Sam, that was his whole goal in this, was to be the little bitch playing let's you and him fight. And he was more than happy to be Bond's bitch. Yes, bro, Joe, I think he probably was. Because that was the whole goal. Actually, I don't know if he was the arsonist. I think he was the one funding the arson. In this case, he was George Soros. Bond was George Soros funding the arson. DT, hindsight would have said that, but the thing is, this is typical, and Midnight even said that he didn't want to be the bad guy, which I can relate to. I'm very often in the same situation. But the thing is, when somebody's being an ass, I'm not saying that I'm innocent, DT, but when somebody's being an ass to one of your panelists, if you don't step in and have a hard foot right to begin with, you're going to have to at some point. And if the person that is being shit on decides to say, I'm not going to take it, then that's what happened. I said, I'm not going to take it. And the whole argument began with, Bond claiming about the pro se whatever. And the issue is, Sam was conflating. He was doing basically every dirty trick that he could. He was conflating my argument with something totally different. Yes, I agree, DT. Anyway, obviously there's a lag between the two, so I'm not even going to read that anymore. But the issue is, when I say I'm not going to abdicate my rights, and then he wants to laugh and say, "Oh yeah, trust me, bro. My dad's a judge and my brother's this important lawyer. I'm not going to prove any of my claims, but just go ahead." And oh, you were a policeman? You were a deputy for 12 years? Yeah, I'm not going to believe you're just a random guy on the internet. I don't care about how much you have said to other people. I don't care about the arguments you made in the past. I don't care about the photos you've shown of yourself previously. Yeah, you're just a random guy on the internet. So guess what? Scientist Sam, who doesn't know what an observation is, we ain't gonna take it. I guess that's the Twisted Sister song. Yeah. So if he's too stupid to know what an observation is, if he's claiming to be a scientist that's not doing experiments, who refuses to accept empirical observation, but yet he's a scientist, then no, he's not. He's just a hobo. And we've already seen what he is. He's worse than Will Kincaid.
Did you get out of your system?
Yeah, I think so. But no, I really wish that I would meet people like this in real life. This is the problem with the internet. There's no way he would get away with any of that in real life. But yet he comes on here and very cowardly pulls all this crap and then runs away like the little bitch that he is.
I mean, frankly, I'm surprised he stayed as long as he has, or had, I guess.
Well, that's because this goes completely against what his exit remarks were. He was making all these allegations when he had no clue as to the topic, no clue as to, what is actually involved in law. But because he is an administrator, he's going to make all these claims about, oh, this is the bar association and all that. And then I point out again, I'm not going to revisit it.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah, the point's been made. But what the hell do I have? That's weird. But never mind.
When the title is Chill Stream and I come in for a chill stream, I don't expect to be ambushed.
I mean, shit. That's what you could say happened to me, kind of. I mean, it did happen yesterday on Dave was using in his stream. You saw that. I probably didn't, but Will Freeman did. Yeah, I just saw it. So what happened? I just go on there to chill, right? Ryan the Libertarian was there. So was Fro from Norway. And then all of a sudden, I find myself being questioned about my beliefs. Why I don't believe in God? Like, what did I find? Whether I think Jesus is a good person? If I think he's a good person, why do I believe in him? Like, okay, I can believe Jesus is a good person, but why do I need to believe in him or follow him or whatever? Like, that's literally why I started the stream to address it. But then everything else happened.
But then Mr. I've drunk a lot of whiskey, but then I didn't drink whiskey, came in and was talking shit on you. And then he was getting you flustered. And then when you got flustered and started, your stutter, then he started making more fun. And then was telling you, oh, calm down. Don't get so
Yeah, I
upset.
didn't really appreciate that. I just let it slide. Well, whatever. Like fake advertising. What do you mean?
About the chill stream. He's saying
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Well, again, all the scientists saying I'm responding to DT's last comment about needing to watch more Law and Order. The issue is, like, he comes in and levels these accusations against me. I'm just some random guy on the internet, when I'm definitely not. But yet he wants us to believe him about everything when he's unwilling to provide any evidence. So I would make the argument, because he knows the lingo and the jargon for biology and some of these
I mean,
tests.
he does seem to be inconsistent when it comes to that. He'll say, "Oh, I'm just a random person on the internet." Okay, so am I. But then why? I get what you mean. It's something that's bothered me too when he says, "Oh, I am just a random person on the internet," or "You're just a random person on the internet." Okay, so why should I listen to you when you say, like, clearly, obviously, you're doing better than me, like going to school, whatever you're doing, you have a job. That's great. Do that. You know what I mean? But you tell me I should listen to your expertise, but then say you're just a random person on the internet. It's like mixed messages, buddy. Am I the only one who sees the conflict between the two?
It's not mixed messaging. He's just a hypocrite. He's a dishonest, lying cuck. That's it. And I mean, he is repugnant to me. If I saw him burning on the side of the road, I wouldn't piss on him if I knew who he was. As far as I'm concerned, in his argument at the end that I wanted to get into, but I wasn't sure how hard to push, he was saying, oh, governments can decide. And, if they want to say, because as a taxpayer, I should be able to institute fascism because my tax money is paying for your health care, and so therefore I get to decide what I can force you to inject into your body. I think that, there's a little mustache man that said something similar back in the late 30s. And in fact, that was called Action T4, standing for Tier Garden Number 4, where they said that, maybe we just need to go ahead and prevent all the mentally infirm people from being able to procreate.
Right, Odin. Right.
Going further and further, and that it ended up to, actually, you know what? They're a waste on the tax dollar. Let's just go ahead and get rid of them altogether. And then they ended up, let's go ahead and put these people on trains and put them in death camps, because apparently the government can do that, according to Sam. Is that ethical, though? Is it ethical to say, I'm going to round up these people so that they can be put into death camps? To me, that's not.
Okay, I'm not sure whether the face palm was towards me or Hillary's, but to answer Odin, I get that that's what he's saying, but at the same time, it just seems okay. You're a random person. Fine, so am I. I'm just going to see the point. I don't care.
Well, again, people use terms like random. If he doesn't even understand what random means, yet he's claiming he's a scientist, there is nothing random. There is nothing in the universe that is random. Show me anything. There is none. Even random number generators are not random. They're called pseudo-random.
Excuse me. God, drink water.
But he has learned all these thought-terminating cliches, so he's really good. It's cult behavior. He's very dishonest. He's really great at all the worst things. Like when it comes to Machiavellianism and narcissism, he is top-notch. So I don't know how his psychopathy is, although if he is more than happy to put people on trains to send them to death camps, then his psychopathy would probably tend to be pretty high on the hair psychopathy scale.
I mean, to be fair, Doubting Thomas, I already knew who Scientist Sam was. So I technically already vetted him because we've been talking for the last 7 years.
I'm pretty sure DT is being sarcastic.
Fair enough. My bad.
Because clearly, how could you? You're not saying that any of us are experts. If people make wild, nonsensical claims, then each of us are going to do that. Also, how can you vet Bond whether or not he's drunk before he comes on panel?
I mean, I guess you could see how the way he speaks.
Before he comes on panel, you could tell?
No.
Right. And that's my point.
Well, what about how he? What about? Let me try it again. What about how he writes in chats?
If it's too egregious, then that might be an indication. And if you want to go through that extra step of, then fine. But as far as my argument, it's up to you who you put on the panel. But if somebody's being an ass, I think that everyone should expect that someone will be an ass right back to them until they shut up. I'm not going to be steamrolled.
Well, I get that. I get it. Like I said, all I was doing was trying to talk about atheism, and then.
Well, do you want to continue with that and talk about the whatever topic you were originally wanting? Play the video that you were wanting.
Well, I mean, I guess I could play it again, but it's really only 3 minutes. Oh, no, actually, hold on. This stream is already long enough. Should I just review? Hang on. Let me get the video. Hopefully, Dave hasn't deleted it. He loves deleting stuff. That little David. By the way, I mean the news unit. By the way.
Pardon?
The news unit, Dave, the news unit.
Oh, okay.
This was in his stream. Here we go. Okay.
Clockwork, I got pissy at Scientist Sam because of the way that he was behaving.
Okay, you know what? Okay, fine. I got copy. We don't link it this time. Wait, no. What am I doing? I just screenshot it. Hold on. Present. Can you see?
Yeah.
Don't really have a
No.
way to explain this stuff.
Now, would you say that? Why would we be?
Wait, hold on a second. Let me go back a little bit. Like I'm not sure where, the whole talk, the whole God of talk. I'm just going back to when I come in. Come on, when the fuck do I come in?
Somebody else.
How's
No.
the girl doing, by the way?
Good, real good. She's still sleeping. She should be getting up pretty soon. So,
How
You're
far
heading-
along are you? Fixing the paper.
she's gonna come here first. No.
Yeah.
Then we'll go from there. So that's all part of it.
Oh, they.
There we
Here
go.
comes Iron Man. What's
Hello.
up, Iron Man? How you doing?
Heidi. How are you,
Pretty well.
Midnight?
I'm doing well. I just figured I'd come in and see what you guys all doing. I
We're
noticed
not doing-
Fro the Ho is in here. How you doing?
Go the hoe.
Go
I'm
the
good,
hoe.
Midnight. How are you?
Peachy. It is hot as balls outside.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
here
it
as
is.
well. Midnight.
Alright.
When it's hot
Holy shit, it's
for midnight,
90.
it's like 19 degrees. That's
Yeah.
hot for
Holy
midnight.
shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know those pesky British.
Here goes
How's
the sun.
Wild Art doing? Is he okay with his drinking?
And just we did. I was just here, just sitting here, like, minding my own business. I said something maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm not trying to badmouth
You have never met a more stubborn man than we know.
about him needing
Christ.
why.
Why? We all know need Christ.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, here's where it starts. Really should have gone to 5, 23, 28, but you still here, Hillary's?
Yeah, he's saying that everyone needs Christ, and you're asking him to substantiate the claim.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Because he's our savior, Lord and Savior.
Why? What does it say because from?
Hell, for example. Why don't you believe in God?
He says Scripture says he saved his people from their sins,
Yeah.
and the wages of sin is death.
Don't you believe are things like sin midnight?
I mean, there are things known as mistakes, not really sins. People make
Okay.
mistakes. People do things that they're not too proud of. A lot of
Okay.
people try to get better, but don't. They fail, and that's
Okay.
definitely very, very. I guess I could
Okay,
say
let's-
annoying, but go ahead.
Let's start with the essential then. Do you believe there's a God?
No,
Okay, why not?
because for as long as I've been alive, not like none of the evidence presented forth, from people like you, other people throughout my life, it never really stuck with me. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I get that the universe around us is beautiful, and I do think it's beautiful. It's all inspiring, and it's just one of those things to where, yeah, there's ugliness in the world, but at the same time, there's also beauty to where you get to hear a child laugh, or go enjoy a beautiful sunset.
Now, I, both you and me agree to that. There are many beautiful things in the world. I'm just saying that. Okay, let me ask you this: where do you think morality comes from? Do you think?
And here is where it gets. Jesus Christ. We go from what do you think God exists? Like, no, here's why. And I was like, oh, where do you think morality comes from? And this is where they take me to task. I'm doing it in quotes, but you'll see. Any comments so far on what he said?
As far as what he said or what you said, because
Yeah,
like
well,
I understand the direction he's trying to go down, but so I would then ask him. So for clarification, you're saying that because you're making an argument from ignorance, you don't know where morality comes from, so therefore it must be God. And then he'd have to say yes or no. And then if it was me there, I would say, well, I'm a moral anti-realist. So I don't think that morals exist absent humanity.
Think it comes only from humans?
I mean, I would say morality comes from us in a sense where they have done studies that are not on animals to where even animals recognize recognize unfairness, right? If you give one monkey just as a comment, I want to shoot myself every time I hear my voice in Minecraft, just so YouTube doesn't fucking kill me.
Have you thought about just taking a deep breath and not trying to hurry so fast? Because I've heard sometimes like you try to speak quicker, but then you just end up stammering more. So maybe if you would speak more slowly, you would stammer less.
Yeah, I will have to do that.
or at least try to see if it works.
And then there are also the times where I get into conversations like this. Like I'm trying to respond as best as I can, but but because maybe it's a nervousness. It's not just I don't know what it is. It's just one of those things to where I do
Do you
try to communicate. Go ahead.
do you want us to have a little therapy session?
Can we do it off air?
Okay, no,
I'm
I
not
was
in the
just
stream
no, I was just meaning, like why would you be nervous in this interaction with these two people that have no real effect on you?
because I'm still like it. I'm not nervous because of them. I'm nervous in general. Like it's just
Okay,
I'm
all
still
right,
trying to work over that.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't want you to think it was just because of these two.
Thank you for the explanation.
A pair, sorry, a berry,
No,
and then another
I've seen
monkey.
that video.
Yeah.
I've seen that video.
So explain that.
Now, do you think there's a naturalistic explanation for everything, or do you think there is something more between heaven and earth we don't understand?
I think there is a natural explanation to everything, but but it doesn't mean that those natural those natural processes can be created by someone we would consider a god, but not it's not really a god. Like you know what I mean? Like
Right.
advanced technology is considered magic. If you remember watching the first movie.
Yeah. Now, you believe that when we just die and don't exist anymore.
I mean
I'm assuming.
that does seems to be what happens. What happens, but realistically, I do not know. I know there might be darkness, but at the same time, there may be something to where, and to where you reincarnate. But I don't believe in the soul. It's really hard to explain. Honestly, I call it genetic reincarnation.
Genetic reincarnation.
Yeah, I know, right? For the record, I cannot explain it. I'm just an idea I'm tossing around.
Right.
It might just be bullshit, but who knows?
No, I understand what you're talking about because I've heard this theory before. Like genetic reincarnation, you're passing your genetic information on to other people. And so if there's somebody similar, like that you shared genes with, then yeah, it's gonna like it's gonna be recursive. I'm wondering how he got from where do you think the morals come from to his new argument here about what happens after death.
I mean, he'll go back to the morals, and then Ryan the vegetarian will come on, and
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how long this is. Maybe 20. I don't know, but let's just maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Let's see. At a mouthful.
That's a new one.
Yeah, I don't really have a way to explain it.
Now, would you say that? Why would we be reincarnated, and who is it that does that?
Why would you
Like
be
there's-
reincarnated?
Yeah.
That's just the natural process that that it goes through. If it is true that we reincarnate in some way. Like I know how it sounds like, right? Genetic reincarnation. It's like, oh, you're mixing biology with spirituality. I know. I really wish I could explain this shit better.
Well, you believe it, so you better explain it better.
No. It's not that I believe it. It's just something that it's an idea I'm working on, developing it.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? So I guess I do believe. But hello?
That's a nonsense claim he just made. Because you believe it, therefore you had better be able to explain it better. What does a belief have anything to do with an ability to explain something? Some people have a more gifted oratory and others don't. So you are going to explain it the best that you can, and then he can either pick up from there or not, just like with me. It was a book called Ancestors that I read back in the 80s that talked about that theory, and so I was able to relate to what you were talking about. He clearly didn't.
Well, I mean, I could say a few choice words about flow, but I'll bite my tongue.
You're starting your own religion.
You just called atheism a religion.
Well, have him explain, what do you mean by religion? Because I know what I mean when I say religion or religious, but maybe you mean something else.
The midnight religion.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Can you have Strawberry? Can you have him explain what dogmas there are of the Midnight Religion? What sacraments you practice? I mean, there's a bunch of ways to approach it, but I know you're just an informal discussion. He's making jokes, and so you're really not obligated to even reply to him at all. So I think you're doing fine.
Aside from the stuttering, or besides the stuttering, like, what would that be? Aside? You know, never mind. Oh, thanks.
Now, would you say that? Okay, so from my point of view, I don't think external morality can exist in a way other than God.
I heard a pop. Hang on. Oh, look, it's Rex.
Well,
Hello,
hello.
good sir.
Hello, Rex.
Oh, he got choked. When I showed up, he got choked.
I said hello, good sir. How the hell did I'm
No,
lost.
he
What?
means me. I call.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, never
I
mind.
understand the joke, so that's why I'm not going to bite into it.
Oh, come on. Take a chance. Come on. Fair enough. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Look, man, don't worry about your stuttering. I had a cousin who stuttered. As long as you get your point across, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I know. I try to, but you know, but then there's a whole thing about people not taking people seriously who stutter. It's just it's a whole subconscious thing, and
Well, those people are judgmental and stupid, so don't worry about it. I'm just saying. My cousin's a smart guy, but yeah, he stutters. Doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't. Even though people will tell you that, it does not.
God.
But
And the
okay,
reason why I don't do that is because if we look at humans, you put 10 different humans in a room, I think nobody would agree to a standard of morality between those humans, other than we could say that maybe 9 of them agrees that you should never kill kids, but one is very pro-abortion.
I love how I gave it color. I love how he sneaked that in. He sneaks that in. Now you know, like none of them are against killing kids, but that one person is for abortion. Like, dude, what the? It's just fucking asshole. Seriously.
Yeah, the thing he doesn't fucking get is pro-choice doesn't mean pro-abortion. It means pro a woman's right to choose what to do with her fucking body. If she wants to have the baby, she can choose to have the baby. If she chooses not to have the baby, she can choose not to have the baby. It's pro-choice. It's not your body, it's her body. Right?
Like, and all this, and all this shit because I dare to ask like why we need Jesus in our lives. You know what? Literally, think I don't think you saw the video I played before. I guess after this is done, I'll play it again for you. But it's basically it's basically a 3.5 minute conversation I had with Bond and Alex on Gangsta Girls' channel. I don't know whether you were watching that before you came in.
I saw the very end of it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll
I
play
was
it again.
part of it. Yeah, I had
Yeah, I'll
shit
play
to
it
do.
again.
I had to go outside and do shit.
Well, hey, dude, walk outside, touch grass. Okay, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying you should be here. Okay, I have respectable times.
Sometimes.
I'll kick you out.
Hey, look, you can try. We'll arm wrestle for it. Okay, how about that?
Okay. Oh, whoa.
No.
Okay, now, okay. You shouldn't kill kids, but then you bring up abortion. You know, you didn't bring up the fact that somebody killed.
Okay.
killed a kid in the street.
Okay. One is 9 is very pro-abortion, and 1 is very against abortion. Well, you can do it that way if you want to. Now,
Why
would you say that?
bring abortion?
No. Okay. No, I'm just saying. Do those people? Do those 10 people have the same morality?
Wait,
I
kid.
see. Now this question is like, do those people have the same morality? Okay. They obviously everyone has different moralities. Like I get what he was saying. Like, well, there has to be objective morality. Because humans can't agree on morality. Therefore, we should be killing each other over it. Oh yeah.
That's moral, right?
Oh. Why can't these people understand that if objective morality exists, it is based on God's fucking mind? Therefore, it's objective to Him.
My
Okay.
interpretation of God is better than yours. So suck it.
Have you and Pro even agreed on the definition of morality? Because you might be using two different words here that just sound similar.
I don't think we did. I don't think we do because I was so fucking blindsided yesterday. Because I did like, well, why do we need Jesus? And then this whole thing starts.
But Jesus said a lot of shit. What are you going to take literally? Yeah. Did I run Sammy off? Damn it.
No, it's fine. Let me. I can't answer that.
Okay, I
Hey.
can.
Well, hang on a sec. Okay, if morality comes from God, then what happens when God changes his mind? Are you going to tell me that God can't change his mind, therefore his morality is objective? And besides, you seem to make the mistake everyone else makes. It's just because something is objective, it can't change. It's static.
Now, I think me and Dave actually talked about it before you came on stream. God has changed his mind, clearly, because
Therefore, his morality is not objective. It's subjective to him. It's still objective
Yes.
to mind, God's mind.
yes, to God's mind, yes.
So then, if it's objective to is you have something to say to this? I know the word is strawberry, but I paused it. So, the other thing to say.
I again in a discussion like this, I would attack the two words of what do you mean by objective and what do you mean by morality, and make him define that so that he can't later claim that he meant something different. Because when I hear those two words, I have ideas of what they mean, and if he thinks very differently, then we'll be talking past each other if we don't agree right from the beginning.
Now, I think that is better morality than those 10 people in the room, because it's very
Yeah,
clear.
I've seen his morality.
Sorry?
Yeah, I've seen God's morality.
Have you? You don't believe in God, so how can you see God's morality?
Oh.
See, this strawberry, this is a trick that he's pulling.
Yeah, I know.
You don't believe in God, but okay, so do you believe that? I mean, we can do the same thing with Harry Potter, and I love using this technique. So when we read the Harry Potter books, are we denying that the fictional character Harry Potter exists? So we can read about, and again, which God are we talking about? Because when people say the God of the Bible, my contention is there's at least 12 of them, and
Which
I
one
can
you
name them.
are?
Yeah. So are we talking about Moloch or Mammon or pride? Which God are we talking about? And I clearly believe that the God of the Old Testament and the New Testament are two totally different gods, and that each of them are the Satan of the other Testament.
Well, I mean, pride would be one of the 7 deadly sins. I don't know if they can consider God. I guess they consider God with a little g. Though I guess they can consider them deities or demons.
Okay, but I think it says somewhere about like pride is worshiping yourself as a god.
Oh, well, then I'm going to hell.
So I would really pin him down. What do you mean? So when he first asked you about, I don't even remember how he phrased it about God. I would say, what do you mean? Do you mean Yahweh? Yeah, as a fictional character, Yahweh says in, I think it's Exodus, don't kill, and then he turns around and commands them to go commit genocide against their neighboring tribes. So is he being self-consistent there?
I mean, I respond to him. It's like, okay, I don't believe finals exist, but I can analyze the shit he's the immoral shit he's done. And he's like, well, someone else created Thanos, or just listen to it. It's kind of fucking.
Okay.
Reality.
I'm granting it. Dude, that was a little. That was a
very
little
cheeky of you to say.
No, that's cheeky of you. I'm granting God's existence for the argument.
Okay, you can't grant an argument if you don't believe the argument.
That's bullshit. Sorry to yell your ear. But
Okay, the thing is, you got to be really specific with your language. You
Of course.
say, I believe in that the fictional character is written about in this book. Do I believe there is that this corresponds to an actual thing in existence in outside reality? No.
You can't grant an argument unless you believe. What the fuck?
I understand why you're laughing, but I also understand the point he's making, that you can't say, oh, I'll grant a God exists, and then I'm going to argue that he doesn't exist as part of it, so you aren't really granting it. So that's why I say, like, you got to be very specific with your language and say, okay, just because I don't believe that God exists in our outer reality, when it comes to the narrative of this book, I can grant that this fictional character exists.
No, it's fair. Yes, I can. Wow, dude, I can grant you the argument without believing it.
Okay.
We're having an argument about it.
Okay, it's not. Okay, let me say it this way. It's not that interesting, no?
Okay, then it's not that interesting. Moving on.
Because you and me don't have the same view on it. Because I believe that exists. You don't.
Just believe.
Yeah, but I'm granting. Yes, believe.
Just believe.
Your premise. Like, for the sake of the argument, I'm granting the premise that God exists.
Okay, then you should turn into Christ then, because you believe the Christ exists, or you believe that God exists.
Dude.
Do you see?
No, you are wrong when it comes to that. Granting somebody's argument doesn't mean you have to believe.
I understand that. I'm joking with you.
Okay, fair enough.
I know that. I'm just saying that if you are going to concede that there's a God, I'm happy to hear that.
It's not conceding, it's granting. Come on, man. Don't be a fucking asshole.
I can be as big as an asshole I want. God has given me free will to be an asshole, you see.
God has given me free will to be an asshole back to you, so there we go.
Yeah. Oh, so you... Oh, nice. Nice to hear that you believe God exists. But yeah.
Fuck you.
Now, why do you say that God's morality is bad?
Well, for one thing, he killed like the entire planet in the Great Flood. Yeah, I know he said he'd never do it again, but come on, man, killing billions. Actually, I guess back then it would be millions of people. Would it be thousands? That's actually a good question to ask. Like,
Okay,
how much?
I'm going. Let's say I'm going to grant you millions. I'm happy to grant you millions. Why is that bad morality?
Strawberry. Why is God destroying the entire planet's bad morality? I don't know. He could have chosen better ways to punish the world. Like, from what I remember about the flood story, the reason why he flooded the world was because, because more people were being sick and deprived, and there was just immorality all over the place, and this and that, and then he's like, you know what? I have to wipe the slate clean, but I'm going to save 8 people. 8 people are going to repopulate the world. Okay, sure.
Let's try this analogy, Midnight. If you make 7 different dishes for, I don't know, you're going to throw a party, and then you make them, one's burnt, another one's like too dry, something, the other's too salty, and you decide that they're all bad and you throw them all out. But you don't throw out all the ingredients. Are you an immoral person?
I mean, we're talking about food, not people.
Right. And in this analogy, are you an immoral person?
In this analogy, no, because I'm throwing away food.
From the food's perspective, are you immoral?
If the food was animated, yes.
I don't even know if it would matter if they were animated. Let's say that they weren't able to move. Like, when it comes to morality, all it is, again, this is why you have to tie down definitions. Morality is a social standard, period. If we had a social standard that every person on their 10th birthday had to cut off their left foot, then it would be immoral not to cut off your left foot on your 10th birthday. So good and bad, that's the ontology, and there are other different, branches of philosophy. But strictly morals, then let's stick to morals. And yes, the food would consider you immoral from their perspective because they don't have your perspective. They're food. Food doesn't throw away other food, it just lets it be. But you, as the baker, they're going to hold you to their standard. So then from your standard, are you immoral? Well, if you're only one person, then you can't have morals. You can have your perspective, which makes you subjective and not objective. In the case of God, God is subjective because he has his perspective. Can we have a perspective, view of God? I mean, a perspectiveless view? I'm tied. View of God? No. How could you have a view of God that has no perspective? That's a contradiction. Icarus says you get your own World of Warcraft expansion. A DT and deontology, we can talk about, would that make the bakers evil? Evil from whose perspective? The baker or the food? From the food, it would violate their preference of not being thrown away because they prefer to be eaten.
You mean not being?
No, in this scenario, it's moral for food to be eaten, and so the food wants to be eaten by your guests. No matter if they're burnt or poorly seasoned, they want to be eaten, and you throwing them away is bad.
I mean, I could feed my guests the burnt food, but I'm pretty sure my guests would be like, I didn't eat that. So, are my guests being immoral for rejecting the food?
That's a great question. We're now talking about yet a third version of morality, and that's the guests. From their experience, what would be the moral thing to do? No, probably from the guest's perspective, throwing away the food and not making them taste bad food or even possibly get sick is the more moral thing to do.
No, I've got the counter argument to every
Uh-huh.
fucking Christian ever that said God isn't evil. All right, I've got the counter argument, but you know, y'all keep going because you know this is fun.
Yep, and I just noticed Bond left. Hopefully he gets some sleep or something. But okay, let's go back to this.
On what ground are you putting that into bad morality?
Because it's wrong to kill. It's wrong to commit genocide.
Why?
Like,
Is it
Yeah, again, why? Why is it wrong to commit genocide? Is it wrong from God's perspective for God to commit genocide? Or is it just that the humans dislike being genocided? Like, where are these morals coming from? And me, as a moral anti-realist, there are no morals. So it doesn't matter.
I mean, let's remove humans for a second. Let's say, and make it okay. We need what?
Never mind. I
Oh,
can't
I mean,
make
go ahead.
No. Did not God send creeping death to kill every firstborn son in Egypt? Unless you
Yes.
slaughtered a lamb, and painted a cross with its blood on your door, creeping death would kill your firstborn son, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that moral? Just
Again,
because he wanted to kill Pharaoh's son, he couldn't kill Pharaoh's son specifically. He had to send creeping death to kill every firstborn son.
Okay,
Is
but
that
when you
moral?
ask if it's moral,
Is that
when you
moral?
okay, and when you ask if it's moral, again, from whose perspective? The food, the guest, or the baker?
Wait, what?
The analogy I made earlier about the food. I said we have the first
Food.
one morality is the food, the second morality is the baker, and then the third morality is the guests that are going to be eating the food, or at least could be eating the food.
Hey, look, way back when, if I caught a lobster or a bunch of shrimp, I couldn't eat them because it was bad. God hated shrimp and lobster and crabs and oysters and shit like that because, yeah, reasons.
Did he hate those animals, or did he just not want the Jews to eat them? Maybe he wanted other people to eat
Hey,
them.
fair enough. Hey, look, either way,
But no, I was going to bring up like another species rather than humans. Like if you say we should genocide penguins for just for the hell of it. So actually, no, maybe deer would be better. Would be a better choice because we do hunt deer. Of course, there are seasons specifically for that. Like my point is that the way we see it, when it comes to genociding humans, we think it's bad. Okay, if one human tries to genocide another group, we think it's bad. That's immoral. All right, but when it comes to say if we want to genocide, I don't know, the mosquito because we fucking hate those little fuckers. Like some people will be like, yeah, do that, but then we're like, no. What the fuck am I trying to say? I guess genocide is bad based on species. Anyways, go on, Hillary's.
Go on with what? I didn't
I
have
don't know.
anything.
Say something.
It's just the whole thing again. It gets into what is morality, and if we're talking about deontology, that's just a preference statement, as far as I've been able to drill down. And so it's just, do I like or do I dislike? So do the people being genocided like it? Probably not. Do the people? Does the person commanding the genocide want the genocide to happen? Well, if not, they probably shouldn't have commanded it.
yeah. God acknowledged and commanded creeping death to kill all the firstborn sons in Israel, not just Pharaoh's son, all of them, unless you killed the lamb and painted its blood cross on your door, and then it would pass. So, is that moral? Is that a moral fucking thing to do? I don't think so. Not in my opinion. I don't give a fuck what God said.
Okay, again, you're saying moral. What do you mean by moral? Because you know the way that I defined it.
Is it a good thing to do or a
No,
bad thing to do?
that's not. That has nothing to do with morality. Good is
Well,
deontology.
fair enough. I mean, fair enough. I get your point. We've talked about this before, Hillary. I get your point. But is sending a creeping death spirit to kill all the firstborn sons of Egypt moral? Is that a moral thing to do? Just because you want to get to one son, let's kill them all and let God sort them out. Fair enough. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, if that's the argument, then you should be saying, is it efficient? And no, it's not an efficient way of doing things.
Well, an efficient way of doing things would have been just to kill his son.
Yes.
But God couldn't do that, apparently.
Or didn't want to. Maybe God just really loves killing people. I mean, he does love the smell of burning flesh.
Yeah, in the Old Testament, he loved killing people. That was God's thing. He would kill a bunch of motherfuckers just on a whim. Yeah. But, you know, that's just my opinion.
You know what? Honestly, I'm done with this.
Yeah, it's been 4 hours almost. So yeah, I figure you're pretty shot. You done run your sparkles out. Spark.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is like the first stream I've had in a while, and I've been like, it's 4 hours. Like,
Well,
I
yeah.
didn't really expect to go this long.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you being around, Sparkle. You know I like you. I give you shit, but I like you. You my friend. So I'll be around when you're around, and I'll just take my leave. Thank you very much. I'll voice my opinion. Yeah, no. Hey, I'll voice my opinion. Thank you for letting me do that. Keep going, Sparkle. Don't worry about how you sound. Worry about what you say. That's the best way I can put it. I don't know. Anyway, later.
Hillary, so do you mind sticking around?
Okay, I will.
All right. Well, this has been fun. Thank you, everyone, for coming on, including Sam and Bond. That was interesting. But yeah, have a nice day or night, evening.